Welcome everyone, welcome to this week's live stream. If you don't know me, my name is Ben Remember. We go live every single week, currently every single Thursday morning whilst we work it out. Some holidays now, so we're still figuring it out. Today we're going live to talk about kick drums. Kick drums, I think honestly have to be the hardest, one of the hardest things in house music to get right. Those of you that are watching this, if you make dance music, especially if you make, my music and the sort of music I make, you'll know, and you'll just be nodding your head, I know, that the kick is king. This is a saying that I've had for many years. The kick is king. If the kick doesn't go well, then the kick kind of can get in the way a little bit. The kick can kind of ruin an entire record. I think the hardest thing about this entire thing is knowing if a kick drum is wrong and why. And this underpins a lot of how I teach and how I think about music. It's often less about what is right and knowing how to see what is correct, and more about knowing what's wrong. It's more about being able to see what's wrong than it is being able to see what's right. The reason for that is, in creativity, it's very hard to give absolutes about what right is. In fact, you will hear a lot of people sort of say there are no rules, you shouldn't have rules, you just got to be creative. It's a more magical human thing, which I agree with on many levels. So how are you going to find anything that's right then? Or do you think that song that you really love is they've just figured out what right is? Well, no, because the same sort of people that are like really high-level thinking artists say that there are no rules and all the rest of it. So it's like, oh, hang on, do you see how messy this becomes and why this sort of stuff becomes so difficult for everyone learning music? So I've got a completely different way of approaching that kind of thought process, which is what we're going to massively get into today. So if you're new here, welcome. I've had a load of new subscribers since the last video. Thanks so much for all the support and all your kind comments on the last live stream. Sorry there was no live stream last week. I was away on holiday. We're back now. But thanks so much for all the support on that last video. It's wicked. I've only just started doing live streams. I wanted to do it for years. Honestly, I was going to start doing it in 2019, just before the pandemic sort of started. You might think most people started live streaming in the pandemic. That's when I started teaching for Toolroom Academy. That's when that whole episode of my entire life, which is still running, started. So the live stream thing got put on the back burner. I've got two small kids and all the rest of it, you know. We're here now doing them, and I really love doing these, and a lot of the comments have been around like just people enjoying the fact it's so raw. Like now I'm just sort of going off on a tangent again like I always do, and it's just very raw. It is literally a human being who spent his entire life learning how to make music. I now do it as a job. This is how I keep a roof over my kid's head, by doing music. I sit down for an hour or so. It's a live stream, so if it takes me 3 hours to get this kick drum right today, so be it, right? If we get it done in half an hour, we'll waffle around, we'll do some other stuff. It's a live stream, it's good fun. It's about me sitting down and just being really honest with everyone about music production, like actually showing you firsthand, one-to-one, me working on client stuff, me working on my own music, just straight up, this is actually doing it. No editing, no polished, like, you know, you see a lot of stuff on YouTube where like you'll see a trick or a new plugin and it will sound all amazing on the video, and then you go and try to do the same thing and it sounds rubbish in your record. Yeah, it's because music production doesn't work like that. It's a really bad way of educating. Unfortunately, it's been the model of education, especially through a platform like YouTube, for a very, very long time. For obvious reasons, it's almost like the only real way you can do it. Well, nowadays, I think the needle has moved over to people enjoying long form content, right? It has been for a little while, and I think in the music production world, I really want to kind of grab hold of that because I think it's a really interesting way to learn. So today, what we're really focusing on is the kick drum. There's a couple of the bits on this record I want to tighten up as well. So let's set this up, let's get going. So yeah, anyway, just thank you for everyone who's a new subscriber. If you're watching this and you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, or at least just think about subscribing. It helps up and coming YouTubers like myself who are just trying to carve their own little way in this massive industry. It's very, very competitive, it's very, very difficult. So if you do enjoy the content that I'm doing here, please subscribe. It makes a massive difference to what I'm doing. It really does. It's a massive help. And also it just means that we're all together. Those of you that know me, I'm big on building communities. I've got a whole Discord where I'm really just trying to build communities. The whole course that I run, the Demo Strategy, is really about building a community of artists. We can all help each other out. I came through that. That's how I became a music producer. In the early days, I had a little Facebook group and we were all good mates. Loads of those people have gone on to be like massive, I won't name names, but a handful of them gone are like massive DJs now. And we were all together when we were younger on the sort of Facebook before Instagram was around, before TikTok was around, and it learning from other people and getting feedback from other people and giving other people feedback and just feeling like you're a part of this sort of like little knit group of people that love this specific type of music, right? Not just like, oh, like I quite like music, I'll give it a listen. It's not helpful. So that is what I try to achieve here, as well as always with everything that I do. So today's lesson is all about, or today's live stream I should call it, I'm so used to saying lesson. Today's live stream is about kick drums. Arguably the hardest thing to get right in all of music. If you get your kick drum wrong, and you might not realise your kick drum's wrong, by the way, and that's what I want to start this whole live stream off with, right? Your kick drum is probably wrong. You just don't realise it. You're there trying to EQ it. You're probably trying to throw 1,000 plugins on it. You've seen some trick where, like I heard, if you layer a top end of something on top of it and go outside and sample a goat and pitch it down 12 semitones and pray to... You know what I'm saying? Like it's just this stuff that people do. I do a lot of mixing mastering for people, and you open up people's projects and it's just like 9 layers of kick drums and they're wondering why their kick sounds bad in the car and stuff. You're just like, oh my God, we've just got to... We need some understanding about why something is good. I think people, they don't understand the actual fundamentals sonically, why something is good. But instead of, because that's boring, I'll be honest, a lot of the stuff that you need to know isn't as exciting. It isn't loads of fancy plugins. It isn't some like, whoa, see the Matrix. It sort of is, but seeing the Matrix in this way is so difficult to do. It requires something very boring called ear training that you hear people talk about, but it does. It requires ear training. And if you don't have the ear training, then you won't hear it. You can't hear why it's wrong. So what I want to do today is give you a few tools. I want to show you how to train your ear. I want to show you how to understand why kicks don't work. We've got one in a project here we're going to move straight into now. This project we're going into is a project that I was working on the last live stream. So this is the mix down that I did last live stream. I was going to jump in and do a breakdown of my new record, which is out tomorrow. Everyone go stream. Called Truth. But actually I'm going to do that next week because I really actually want to get this record finished and sent to a couple of labels as a demo. I'm not even joking. This is going out maybe tomorrow to record labels. If we get it right on this live stream, this is going to record labels tomorrow. Maybe not Friday, because Friday's a really bad day to send demos out because most heads of labels are DJs and they're off, and everyone in the music industry is kind of ends early on a Friday. Unless you're the juniors, so then you're there longer, right? As we I don't even know how industries work. But the truth is Friday's a really bad day to send a demo typically. Mondays can be hard because everyone's catching up on the industry stuff that's gone on. Everyone's been flying around the world all weekend, landed, gone back to the office on Monday. It's a big catch up. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, there's a lot of wiggle room with what I'm saying right now. It's not like hard truth, but Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is typically a better day to send a demo in. So I will probably get this right, give my ears a little rest, check it out on Monday, myself just in here, then send it on Tuesday. Something like that, I reckon. But this is a real record that we're going to be doing. This is what I'm doing. This is one of my songs that I'm finishing up. We mixed it down on the last live stream, but very fast. Now, the reality of the last live stream is I was going on holiday the next day. I didn't say that on stream for obvious reasons. I had to get it done in about an hour. So it was a song that I wanted to be on the Touring Radio show that I'm doing a guest mix for. I've done the guest mix for. I did the guest mix and this record was on there. So I wanted to, on my guest mix, I wanted to put a bunch of my unsigned records on there because I used to love doing that when I was younger, when I was a bit more kind of active in music, and I've become more active in music again. I won't bore you all with the whole story right now as we want to crack on, but I'm just at the moment, these live streams are a part of me starting to make my own music again. When I used to do this a lot more, I used to be on radio more and DJing more and that kind of stuff. I used to love playing records that I hadn't quite finished properly yet, even in places where you probably shouldn't, where everything should be really polished and like your peak. I quite like throwing in like random little like naughty IDs that I've just like only half finished. Always enjoyed doing that, even when I was much younger and I used to make breakbeat. So I wanted to do it. I wanted to almost like pull out that old, younger me, like the excitement of making music and then just it going right out into the world, being really raw and not over polished. I just enjoy that. I enjoy that kind of a thing. I hate everything being clinical and polished and perfect. I fucking hate all of it. I hate music that sounds really perfect. It's horrible. Ugh, stop it. Everything should feel more human, if you ask me. I've been saying this before the AI conversation. I've always said this. I like bad mixdowns. I like stylistic mixdowns, not bad mixdowns, stylistic mixdowns, right? Anyway, so this is why on the last live stream we mixed this record down in a very real world I'm an artist who wants to get this finished and onto a radio show. I have to mix it down an hour. Panic. That's what the last live stream genuinely was. And I had to do it because I had to go on holiday. Literally later that day, I had to go to the airport. So it was like straight up, like rush. There's a few people commenting going, oh, I love the fact that you're not over fussing like the levels and there's a bit of redlining. It's like, yeah, I do honestly typically fuss a little more than that than we did last week. But to be honest, it gets the job done. That's all. At the end of the day, it gets the job done. We're making tech house that gets hammered too loud from a DJ, redlined by a DJ in a mono club with a bad sound system. There's only so much fussing you should be, you know. Hey guys, welcome to the stream. Good to see you guys here today. Good to see you all here. We are going to get cracking now, right? So yeah, kick drums. This record. Let's go over. Let's jump over. Right now, if my face gets in the way here, let me know on chat, and because I can very easily just move myself around. Right, I can very easily just move myself around and not have to fuss about it. So just let me know. And if I'm like, oh Ben, you've got that right in front of like a thing I wanted to see, just let me know on chat, right? And I'll move it around. I did haggle with the idea of not having my face on, but I honestly find personally, when I watch live streams, that I find it disengaging when I can't see the person who's talking. It's one of those things, like there's lots of streamers that I'll watch for different kind of things, and I just prefer being able to see the person talk. So let me know if I get in the way, and I will move myself around, right? So this is the project from where we were on the last live stream. I tightened it up, right? I'll be honest with you. I did tighten it up quite a bit from when we last heard it. Not quite a bit. I came in and I listened to it. And I'll actually just answer a couple of people in the comments were wondering, like, do you always only work on headphones? No, as you can see in the background, I've got a pair of PMC 82s, very fancy, I know, and a pair of mix cubes sat either side. But then it's not that good mixing for live streams on them because of crossover. I find on OBS the noise cancellation and I'm using like a gate and a noise cancellation and stuff. It's just really janky. It works for a minute, then it stops working out of nowhere. And like I've listened to some of my live streams where I've tried it, and like now and again you just hear the speakers as well. I've used these for nearly 10 years. These actually sound like those in this room. So I've got, I'm also using Nova, so Trinnov Nova running. So the PMC2s go through a Nova, which is down here, Trinnov. So my room's very well treated as well. Trinnov, pair of PMC 82s, right? I'm in a pretty nice working environment as far as mixing goes. So my ears are fairly well trained. These are actually fairly new though. I've only had them for about 6 months and I'm still getting used to them. I still like go, yeah, this is perfect. And I hear it on different speakers and I'm like, a little bit too much top end, or not enough top end, or whatever it is, right? Still calibrating. It takes a long time to calibrate to speakers and rooms and stuff. It really does. Even when you think you've nailed it, you're still not there. But I know these headphones and these headphones very, very well. These are the LCD2s by Audio Z, if I'm pronouncing that wrong, sorry guys. And the 770 Pros, the classics. Everyone knows these. My auto zoom won't work. But the Bear Dynamics DT770s, they are the absolute, not Bear Dynamics, what's my brain doing? My brain's doing, yeah, it is, sorry. 770s, absolute classic headphones. You see them everywhere, everyone uses them. I've owned those. When I got a record deal with Toolroom, I didn't own any speakers and I only owned a pair of these, by the way. So all this sort of fancy equipment you see around me, didn't have any of it when I got a record deal. It's all come afterwards. So these I know incredibly well, and they do sound a lot like these speakers in this room. So when I'm using these on stream, and they're open back, so I can hear my own voice as well, which is obviously you get a better low end and things like that from open backs. We could do a live stream on headphones at some point, but open back is better for mixing kind of stuff, right? I know them really well, and they sound very similar to these. There's always a little bit of smudging, but I trust them well enough to sit on a live stream and do a little bit of do some creative work without feeling like, oh, this is probably could sound really shit on other speakers. I feel fairly confident. Just to clear that up, because I know a few people asked about it, and I'm sure even more people, the last video had, it's on about 4,000 views now, and I'm sure at least 2,000 of those people probably wondered, do you always work on headphones? So in case you were wondering that, no, I do have a fancy setup as well, but for streams, these are perfectly capable headphones. Very, very, very good headphones, very expensive headphones. Morning, guys. Thank you for being here today. Appreciate you all turning up. It's good to see a few people in on the actual live. Like I always say, my live streams go out at a very weird time, Thursday morning, the vibiest of time, right? The vibiest of time to work on music, Thursday morning. But I have noticed on metrics that massive amounts of people watch my stuff afterwards, so I'm all good with, as long as it's getting out there, as long as I'm making the content. At some point I will do them only in the evenings when more of you can be here live. It'd be amazing to have to try and get 1,000 people here live or something like that. Would be fucking cool, but obviously we're not going to achieve that at 11 o'clock in the morning on a Thursday, are we? No. So thank you for turning up. I massively appreciate it. Anyone that can actually get here on a Thursday morning and make music with me, I fucking salute you. You're one of the troopers. You are obviously in it to win it, you know what I'm saying? Thank you, guys. I appreciate all the kind love on the chat, man. Awesome. Right, so let's get to fucking work, shall we? How long have I been going on for now? 15 minutes. Classic move from me. My students know this. Always skip 10 minutes ahead on anything Ben Remember does, because I will just chat shit for at least 10 minutes before I start work. I'm not joking. Anyone who is on my demo strategy course will tell you that I will chat. And I will go off on a tangent and all the rest of it as well. Now, this is the project that we're going to be working on. Same project as the last live stream. The only little thing I'm going to do it now is on the master, I've deleted the master chain because it's actually just causing a little bit of lag. Ozone 12 on there, you saw it last time. I've actually saved it as a preset up here, so we can actually jump straight back to, anywhere in here, we can jump straight back to the exact same master chain. Master bus live 10, which is today, right? That's the exact master bus where it was at. So once we've done this, we can just chuck the exact same master bus on and avoid all the annoying lag and stuff that you get from bits and pieces. Just so you know, right? Let's just check the audio. How am I looking? Yeah, my voice and stream about the same volume there, guys. It looks about right. Let me know if you want the music a bit louder, me a bit quieter, anything like that. Let me know in the chat now. We can just iron that out as I'm working, okay? Right, now the one thing that jumped out to me is don't mention AI. Don't mention AI. We're going to do a big live stream on AI very, very soon. Let's not get into it. We'll wait. This loop here, the only thing I want to do that's outside of the actual topic of this stream, I don't like how this is sounding. Oh, excuse me. I've got to set stuff up probably over here. This hat. How's it now? I didn't realise I'd opened Metric AB and it automatically switched to B rather than A. Very helpful. This is now the unmastered version, which is going to be a bit quieter. Let me know how that feels. I can whack a little limiter on the end just to turn it up a little bit for you guys if it helps you guys sort of hear it at the volume you want to be hearing it for YouTube. Yeah, let me know. Yeah, this hat here, it's just coming across a little too nasally and squash, and I do think maybe I've over pushed it with Drive. No, not really. Not by the looks of it. What's Trash 2 doing? Let's have a look. Let's go all plugins off. It's such a small percentage, and it doesn't jump out when you hear it. A little bit louder, yeah. Yeah, a little bit louder. No, that's all good. Look, I've got a limiter on the end here. We can just bump it up a little bit. It's all good. Not soloed. Let's get ourselves up next to 0. Yeah. Cool. Good. Thanks for that. It's important because it's more enjoyable when you're talking about music production for the stream to actually be all leveled out. But obviously, I'm just sat here in a room on my own. Sometimes it can be hard to tell exactly where things are, and I'm still new to streaming, so I haven't got my numbers dialed in. I'll be completely real with you. Right. This loop just sounds. When I noticed this, when I mastered the record down and I put it in my guest mix for touring radio, and it all sounded great. And I was just like, oh, that shaker compared to the other records that it's around just feels a bit squashed. It just feels a bit over pushed. It's a small thing, so I'm just going to listen to it with all plugins off. Inherently, it will just be too quiet now, yeah? So we'll turn some of it back on. Turn it up. I think that instantly fixes it. I'll be honest with you, I can hear that. I can hear that without even thinking. That just feels less squashed. I think what I was doing was I was being a bit too like Ben Remembery about it. I quite like sizzly, squashy stuff. Actually, I think maybe let's have a look. What's Devil Lock doing? I think Devil Lock. I still haven't updated anything. I think Devilock, even just doing almost nothing, was too much. What was I doing over on this bad boy? Trash multi-band saturation. Okay. Well, the only thing I don't like about Trash 2 is when you touch the plugin, you can't press play. You have to click back into the project to press play. Hate that. No, it wasn't. It was stacking saturation. So Devilock into Trash 2. So Trash 2 is doing pushing on the very tops. That's what I'm doing here. You don't have to worry about the complication of it. Nothing down here, nothing in the middle. And what I'm doing is fizzing up the tops. What that is actually doing is it's squashing the tops, because it's, you know, Devilock's a mad little beast. It's a distortion box, but it's very strong. I love it though. And then I think trying to then add, at the end of the day, where's the shaker? The shaker is predominant to the ear here, so I'm just adding another layer. I'm not doing anything clever by using multiband here at all. Again, just being honest with you, it's just one of those things you do when you're being creative. But at the end of the day, the ear is only really hearing this area. Well, there's 2K and above. Yes, there are frequencies lower, but in the mix, what's the shaker doing? It's probably everything above 2K is what your ear is really noticing. So all I'm really doing is accidentally stacking and stacking. Yeah. You see how the shakers lose their and they become. So it's Trash 2 there. We're going to remove. Sorry, mate, you are my favourite plugin of all time, but today you're not the one. Now, what I do have over on Metric AB here is I've got my new single, because we're going to compare with this, and I've got the master that's on the Toolroom radio. The shaker comes in here. I'm just going to match it. A bit loud. Oh, and I just want to set that up because I have to reopen it. Let's go U. We want key, switch. I use Q, lowercase. So then when I hit Q on my keyboard, it references AB. See, on the orange one is the master, which has been turned down to level match. You can hear the shaker now. Feels really congested and stuck inside of the mix. I can turn my one up a little bit now. I know that's a small detail, but it's a big important thing. When your record is like, when that shaker is a really important part of this song, like it keeps the pace of the record. If you get that wrong, you just fuck up the whole record. That'll do, that'll do. That's the only thing I wanted to do. It was just one of those things that was really bugging me. I was like, I'll do that on the live stream before we get going. Let's get rid of you. Okay, right, now the kick. What's wrong with the kick? So 20 minutes in, so we're going to start talking about the kick. Obviously, this live stream is going to run on a little longer than an hour. This is a really hard thing to explain, especially without using reference tracks. Now, why am I not using reference tracks? Ben, you're always going on about reference tracks. Why have you not got reference tracks? The reason I don't have reference tracks is because we're on YouTube Live. YouTube's new algorithm is incredibly aggressive at basically let's turn your stream off. If you're like playing music that's like licensed and you don't own the license to it, it can literally just turn the stream off. Or it can just demonetize you, delete your videos. Like, it's very, very aggressive now. So you have to be very careful. I can't just like reference tracks at other people's songs. Now, I'm obviously, as an artist, only using them to reference. The algorithm, the AI, whatever, you know, obviously AI now doesn't know that, doesn't have that nuance baked into it yet. It just goes, they're using licensed music, you're not allowed. You're gone. Okay, so I have to be careful. In fact, because my own song, Truth, is actually coming out on a record label called Toolroom. They own the rights to that record because they signed it. I signed the rights to them as a contract. That's what you do when you sign a record to a record label. It could actually ding me. To be fair, I can actually just phone them up and say, guys, can you actually just do the back end thing? So, because you can say, like, record labels can actually say to YouTube, this is allowed to be played. I don't know how you find out who has and who hasn't. I just know that is a thing. So I could ask Toolroom to say, hey, can you make my record available on YouTube? They might naturally do it. I don't actually know. I should probably ask them about that. But I am going to use it today anyway. Fuck it. And hopefully I can fix it afterwards if it does cause me any kind of problems. But that's why you don't see me doing lots of referencing and all that kind of stuff on YouTube. You can't get away with it. Okay, so, but referencing is very, very important because it's a calibration tool for what right is. If you've got a couple of reference tracks and they're songs that you absolutely love and they line up with what you make. If you've got songs that you love and they're nothing like the songs that you make, don't reference them. It's fucking pointless. Reference tracks are not meant to be songs that you love, okay? Stop referencing your favorite song. It's a waste of fucking time. It's not what referencing is for. Referencing is about helping your ear calibrate to the right types of frequencies and ideas. It's not about copying the vocals. It's not about having the same bass line. It's not about having the same notes. It's not about being in the same key. All these kind of mistakes that people make. That's not, if you're referencing in that way, just stop fucking referencing. You're actually depleting your creative outlet by over analyzing and over copying other people's music. It's pointless. AI's doing that for you already now, so stop fucking doing it. What referencing is for is to calibrate your ear to the right kinds of sounds. Is the kick really deep? Is the kick really short? Is the kick really long? Is the what kind of like weight, body, style, tone is the kick? Is the clap? Is the hat? Is the bass? Is are they using synths? Are they using instruments? It can be that broad, but it makes a big difference on realizing like what makes up the DNA and chemistry of the style, of the subgenre. Like if you're out there going, I'll just make house, and you probably, no shade, you're probably just fairly new to music production. Like there's many, many, many layers to like, you go EDM, right? Like electronic dance music. Then you can go like house, and inside a house is like tech house. And inside a tech house, think how many subgenres there are of tech house now. It's insane. Like it's actually crazy how many split off, like how different, say like, someone like, say like my new single compared to someone like Max Styler, whose music I love, but go listen to how different the sort of sounds that we use. But we'll be in the tech house chart together. But it's so different. Like it's so different. Yeah, arguably my records could go in the house chart, to be fair, on Beatport, but comes down to their labels and stuff a lot of the time. Anyway, my point being is there's a massive difference. You can't just be like, oh, I just like this massive group of stuff and then reference like a disco song and reference a tech house song and reference like a minimal techno song and go, hopefully I'll figure out what the right sounds are for my song. It's like, no, you ain't gonna. Like, that's so confusing for your brain to do. Even as someone with nearly 30 years experience at this, it just completely fucked me over. I'll never get anything finished. So you have to be very careful about that. So why I bring this up is because referencing is so powerful for this. And I'm going to use my new single, Truth, which is out tomorrow on Toolroom Tracks. I'm going to use that as a benchmark. Now, I know I'm doing a lot of talking, but it's important because a lot of the time, getting like a kick perfect is about how you approach it. And that's all in here. It's less about what you're doing there and more about what you're doing here. Honestly, you've got to trust me on this one. It might not feel like it to start with because you don't have all the information in here yet to know how to use it. And so this is why you're trying to use EQs badly. This is why you're trying to use like preset plug-in chains to make your kick better and shit like that. And it's not working for you. What we got to do is understand some basic fundamentals and it will make the actual practical side of it a piece of piss, I'll be honest. It's not as hard as you think it is. It's just the approach, right? And the approach needs to start with the right mindset and the right way of thinking about what this is. So let's listen to this again, right? And we're going to focus kick now. And if you see I keep looking over there, that's me looking at the chat and stuff. Okay, I'm just trying to keep an eye on everything. Beatport has loved making new genres forever, mate. When I used to make tangent incoming. When I used to make breakbeat many years ago, we used to joke about it then. That's 25 years ago. Yes, 25 years ago. That's scary. Nothing jumps out as being wrong, does it? You don't hear that and go like, that's completely wrong, Ben. Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying, mate. That kick's fucking terrible. It sounds really good. What's wrong with that, Ben? Now, this is really interesting because even to me, I don't think that sounds wrong. But I know because I put this in a DJ mix, which is a really good way to calibrate your ears on your own music, by the way. I just did it in Ableton. You don't have to have mixing stuff. I ain't got any decks or anything here. I haven't DJ'd in years. I used to love it. Loved DJing's like the original thing for me. I just, as I've gotten older and kids and trying to make money in a different area in the music industry. I just don't have the space for DJing. So I couldn't split myself between everything. So I made the choice to down my headphones, so to speak, right, and take up like this sort of stuff instead. But DJing is, it's a part of the DNA of who I am. It was the beginning. I was a DJ before I was a producer, right? Like everyone, most people anyway. But doing a little DJ mix in whatever format and putting your song in there. Now, you can't do it like, someone else's song, my song, someone else's song, my song. It doesn't work like that. You have to calibrate your ear. So you almost have to do like a 20-minute mix of other people's music, then put yours in, then do like a 10-minute mix of other people's music, whatever. Like these numbers are whatever, right? You will, and then go listen to it back. You'll probably feel it. You'll feel it when you mix it in straight away, right? If you've even got a half ear, if you've got half an ear on you, meaning like the quality that you can hear, you'll hear it. And then if you record it down or just have it in Ableton, whatever you're doing, right? And then you listen to it through, you will hear what's wrong with your record. Like, it will be brutal. It will be brutal. It won't be fun. It will make you feel like you want to quit. Don't worry. That's very normal. Trust me. You guys are all very lucky you live in the future where you got people like me doing live streams teaching you. I come from the era before YouTube. Can you believe that? I was making music before YouTube was around. That's fucking crazy. There was no education. I'm really dyslexic as well. So like I couldn't read the manuals for anything very well, like you had to just kind of figure it out. It took a long time. It took a long time to learn. I'll tell you that, man, back in the day. But yeah, okay, so what we've got to do is understand what's wrong, don't we? Like, this kick drum doesn't seem wrong, but it is. It's something not right about it. And in the mix that I did, what I found is it felt a bit hollow. It felt like it didn't oomph like the records around it. Now, that's an interesting thing to say because the records around it, they're perceiving a specific sort of style. So is it that I played this song in the wrong place in a set? Now that's interesting, isn't it? Because if you play like loads of really deep, heavy stuff, and then your song is meant to be this lighter, like warm-up record, and you play them together, it's not going to sound right, is it? Because it's a different type of house music. Again, if you were a bad DJ, or new at DJing, I shouldn't say bad DJs, should I? If you're new at DJing, gotta be careful. If you're new at DJing, then you might not know shit like that. You might not realize that like these sort of records don't sound very good when you mix them together because the sonics are so different that it goes from bassy to non-bassy. It's not very enjoyable most of the time for a dance floor, right? So you might not know that stuff. So again, layers of confusion that come from just picking the right kick drum, right? When you're using all these kind of, because you'll see people say this. I'm not the first person to say put your record on a DJ set to like hear if it's right and wrong. Like this is old school stuff. This is old school stuff. This has been said many times, so it's not a new thing, but I think sometimes the nuance of the problems gets left out. A lot of time when people explain things, they only explain the technique. They don't explain what the side effects might be to the technique. And every single technique and trick and whatever, there are side effects, I think, creatively speaking, to everything you ever do. There's a trade-off. Everything's got a positive and a negative with everything you do and learn in music. If you don't learn to understand that, that's why when you take a technique and it doesn't work for you, it becomes more confusing, doesn't it? It's about understanding like, oh yeah, I'm experiencing that thing. I'm experiencing that problem. Okay, so what do you do to fix it, Ben? So what you got to do is make sure you're listening to music that all lines up. That's the first big thing. So one of the main things I always teach is like when you're referencing and DJing and stuff and you're against your for the reasoning of calibrating your music, you have to make sure you understand the scene, the genre, the subgenre that you are making and playing. You need to understand that you need to respect it. I think a lot of people take that as like, oh yeah, but I like loads of stuff. Everyone likes loads of stuff, mate. Stop saying it. We're human beings. No one only listens to one genre of music, all right? But as an artist, I think sometimes it can be quite important to understand and respect the music industry and the scene and the other artists and what's actually going on there. And, you'll find like the more you dig into a subgenre, the more like, oh my gosh, like an entire universe just in these 4 record labels. Like, what the hell? And every single sound choice is like made for that universe. And once you start thinking like that, you do start realizing, oh, that's why my records aren't getting signed. I'm using the completely wrong type of, I'm sending them good ideas, but my drums don't even line up to their label at all. I didn't even realize the wrong kick drums. So I'm putting it out there as information just so you can start thinking like that if you don't already, right? Because I'm going to be talking like that through this live stream. So for referencing, I know from doing that DJ mix that this kick didn't hit right. And this is one of my records. I played it again. I played it with my new record that's out tomorrow on Toolroom Tracks. like and subscribe. And one of my other new ones, and a bootleg I've done of You Don't Know Me by Armin van Helden, that I've given out to a handful of DJs. Danny Howard played it on Radio 1 last weekend. Thank you, Danny, by the way, if you see this. Thank you for the support, mate. Well done. Love that. Love to see it. I've got a few other people that it's gone to as well. I won't name names. You'll probably hear it in their sets in this summer, and then it's going to go out to the wider audience, just to everyone here, and it will go out to the entire community in a little bit deeper into the summer. I want to let this single cook and do its thing, and then I'm going to give that out as a big freebie to the entire community once everyone once it's had its chance to get out into the wild a little bit with some of the bigger DJs. Do you know what I'm saying? That's the tactic, isn't it? Do you know what I'm saying? Let's be honest. It's tactics. It is. It's tactics. The music industry. It's like, you got to think. You can't just make beats. You got to think about what you're doing. Anyway, we'll do live streams on that sort of stuff at some point. I think it'd be fun to chat about that sort of stuff. So it's played amongst those records, and I just found that this kick didn't have the thing. That shaker was annoying me, and the kick was annoying me. Those two things. We fixed the shaker relatively quickly. Now let's talk about it. Let's listen. I'll tell you what. Let's listen to a bit of my new single so we can calibrate truth. Let's match it. Let me just chuck it over here a second. Match. It's very important to match the volumes. You notice with Metric AB here, you can just hit match and it changes the volume. And it's changing the volume to the loudness. So it's not just changing like the dB read to be the same number. That wouldn't work, because that's not how we perceive music. We perceive music through something called LUFS or RMS, root mean squared, and which is, to be fair, they're the calculations. They're not how we hear. They're the calculations for how we hear. But we hear in a very different way to how, like, say, a computer or a meter reads it. It doesn't always translate. Well, it never translates one to one, right? So what this is doing is it listens to the loudness of both records and turns my referencing song down by dB to be the same loudness as my song. So then your ear is calibrating to the right volume. Because if a kick drum is 2 dB louder, it's going to sound bassier. It's going to sound this. It's going to sound more of something. And then you're going to over EQ this one to have more bass, because you're going to turn the bass up on this one to come up to here. But now you've just made it muddy. It's very, honestly, referencing at a matched loudness is peak importance. Peak importance, especially in the mixing. With the sort of stuff we're doing today, peak. Say it with me now. Peak importance. You have to match you on that. Honestly, it's so important. If you've got reference tracks in there that are too quiet and too loud, they're messing with you. It's messing with the way you're receiving information, which is messing with your decision making. It's so important, right? Honestly. So now we've done that, let's have a little listen. Turn myself up a little bit here. I'm going to go to an area of the record where I can like hear a bit more, because I'm focusing on the vocal too much. Here we go, that's good. I can get into the kick. Right, now we've soaked that into our ears, let's jump back over to here and compare that just straight up face value. I'll tell you what, we'll go a bit... Oh, this has got like a filtering thing on it. I'll tell you what, fuck it, let's throw it in here. You. I'll bring it up so it's easy for you guys to see. You can see I'm pressing Q. See, like that? Okay, let's talk about it. There's a lot. Very different kick drums. Very different kick drums. But very similar records. I know why this has happened. I can say this because I know the narrative of the storytelling of the creation of this record. You will know this for your own songs. So how I'm about to explain this, ask yourself these kind of questions about your music. If you've got a record that you're struggling with a little bit at the moment, stop and think about it in the way I'm about to explain this. When I made this song, I was referencing some LF system, some stuff on like Rekids, Phoenix, Brobot, some bits on Brobot. Now, some of these artists, and these are just record labels, and they release a few all of those guys' labels all release a little bit of nuance between there. So, some especially like Rat Kids, they release lots of different sort of styles of funky stuff. But the stuff I was listening to was more like LF System, but their kind of stuff where it was more like, in fact, I think this kick might have been taken from one of theirs and then like mangled a bit, if I remember. The more disco-y stuff, the lighter stuff, the stuff that is more like old house music, that isn't like a big Toolroom Tracks Ben Remember record. It straight up is not that. So I was being inspired by the disco-y stuff. You can hear that in the sampling, right? Or the sampling that I've done on here, and the vocal, and da-da-da-da-da. Like, we'll get into all that sort of stuff at another time. You can hear all that, like, it's disco-y, isn't it? But it's the Ben Remember drums that kind of change that. Now, I would argue the way this record comes across, in fact, what we'll do, we'll listen to the little breakdown and a drop now, just so you can get what I'm saying. I think this record, what I'm working on, what we all want here, really just sounds like a Ben Remember record. It doesn't sound like a LF System disco-y, housey sort of thing. Do you know what I'm saying? It doesn't. It doesn't sound like one of their sort of, or any of the other people. Or there's loads of stuff on Brobot that I love. The music's so creative they put out on that label. I really love that label. If any artists are from that label see this live stream, like, massive salute to you. I love what you guys do. There's some artists on there that really just like don't seem to care what everyone else is doing, but what they end up doing is like so cool. I love that. I appreciate it. But sometimes the mix downs aren't great, and I feel like it's on purpose. I feel like sometimes the mix, like the kicks are really flat and hollow, or there's no low. There's some of my favorite records on there. There's like no sub. It's like you have to play this in the right time in the right place, and it's just music for that. I like artists that are like that. They don't care about like doing the thing that everyone loves. They do a thing. I love that, and I'm very inspired by those kind of artists. And this kick drum comes from that place. This kick drums comes from that inspiration. But my record has turned into something that is actually just more inherently me. It's more Ben Remember. So I think that's why the kick isn't working. It's not that it's a bad kick, it's that it's the wrong style of kick for what this song has become. And that is very important, because it's not about the perfect kick, isn't about it being right or wrong. It's about it being correct for this song. What is this song? Well, it's a collection of sounds, right? It's the bass line, it's the sample, it's the rest of the drums, yeah? It's just everything together. You can go into laser detail and talk about it as like macro individual sounds, or you can stand back and talk about it as a concept. Both of them should bring you the same information at some point in time, right? If you talk about all the macro stuff and the big picture stuff, if you've done a good job and made a good record, there should be not just crossover, they should be one-to-one. It's just you're talking about the same thing in a different lens, right? So I think if you talk about this record, I think you talk about it as the individuals and the big picture. I think there is an outlier here, which is the kick drum. I think the kick drum comes from a different type of funky record than mine. And this is something really interesting to do as an artist. So I'm quite fortunate where I'm in a space now where I have a single that's coming out tomorrow on Toolroom Tracks. This is the peak of dropping your singles out tomorrow on a live stream. I've done it about 5 times so far, and I'm not even doing it on purpose. I must be a pro. Not. I've got a record coming out, so I have this kind of like, oh, this is sort of like, I want it to sound a bit more like that, especially if I'm sending this to Toolroom. And Toolroom's my family. I'm going to release on other labels this year and moving forwards. But I even spoke to Mark Knight, who owns Toolroom, about it. He was like, dude, you've got to start releasing some other labels. He wanted to help me out of it. He's such a nice bloke, Mark Knight. He is one of the most ambitious, hardworking dudes in the music industry, and he will take time to help people. The love that he's shown me is always quite surprised me, like how someone who's so busy, doing so well, running a giant record label, multiple things going on, and he will still sit down and talk to me, even after I haven't released anything for 2 years, and be like, yeah, Ben, let's like find a date. Like, let me know when you're free. Come up to the office and sit with me. We'll go through everything. Send me all your ideas. Like, last time I saw him in London last month, that's what he was like. It's just amazing that people like that. It always inspires me that people that busy are still like that. It reminds me that you should always be like it with all artists that you ever speak to. So I always send them stuff. And if you kind of like this, let's say hypothetically, would say if this record did well, that would give you more motivation to sound, keep your stuff in that kind of pocket, right? But even outside of all that, I just think this record actually sounds quite a lot like the new single. Like if we listen to like. instantly taken off of stream's been taken down. It's not out until tomorrow, so they can't get me yet. They'll just demonetize me. It's soulful in the breakdowns, uplifting, soulful, classic house that then goes into Ben remembering stuff, right? We're going to do a full breakdown on this record next week on the live stream, by the way. Now, this record... Now, there is a difference, right? But there's definitely an artist on show there. You can clearly hear it's the same dude's made those records. It's the only difference is this one is pulling into being like actually being quite summery. Not an accident, guys. Not an accident that I've gone and found some big old school disco record and sampled it, and we'll talk about clearance and all that kind of stuff at some other time. At the moment, it's just a creative, like, janky thing. It very much... like is a summary, sort of more uplifting daytime party sort of record, but you listen to the drums and the kind of attitude behind everything. I think it's missing a bit of that oomph in the low end. I think this kick, I think someone mentioned it on the chat here, that it feels a bit hollow, and that's the word I would use for it as well, man. It feels a bit hollow. A lot of my stuff has got this lower dum bum bum dum bum bum. Now this is different. This record is different because of the bass line. And you can't talk about perfecting a kick drum without talking about a bass line. You have to. They have to live together. They have to work together. We are going to get into all that. This is going to be a 2-hour stream. Sorry, guys. The bass line is a sample, but then I've completely remade the bass line from scratch. Plugins. We're not going to do all the plugins for other stuff today. You know, one day we'll do a full track breakdown on this, but for now, I'm doing a full track breakdown on this for my demo strategy students. So the course that I run, my personal one, I do weekly lessons, and for those of you that are here, there's a couple of guys here actually. I've actually already recorded this week's lesson, by the way, guys. Haven't had a chance to send it to you yet. It's going to get done after this live stream, but the next week's lesson is going to be a full breakdown on this record for my students. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, you can see the link in the description below around how to join the course, or at least even just get some information on the course. And don't be a stranger. Just hit me up. Drop me a DM on Instagram, or on here, whatever. I'm happy to talk. Anyway. We will get into that kind of geeky stuff at some point on this, right? So we've got a bass line that is quite chunky. We've got it's quite hefty. It's got a bit of oomph about it, right? So it's not out of the realms of being like the other record, but it isn't that kind of like stop start thing that the other record is doing. So it is different. So we can't go one to one. Well, maybe we can. We're going to try it. We're going to sample my other kick drum in a second and see if we can just one-to-one it. Like, maybe it works. I think it might, I'll be honest. But the record also feels a bit happier, a bit more summery, where my single, out tomorrow, touring tracks, sounds a bit like heavier. It kind of goes all like uplifting, then drops to this like heavy, monstery kind of ploddy thing, where this is actually inherently a bit faster and kind of lighter feeling. And that's... So we've got to find somewhere in the middle. So what's wrong with all that said, right? That's all calibration. I know I'm just sort of like talking, but this is me doing it live. If you guys weren't here, this is what I'd be doing in my head. This is just verbalizing how I'm understanding why this kick is wrong. All this chat that I'm doing helps calibrate. Everything is about calibrating what might be wrong with this kick. Rather than worrying about what right is so much, I'm worried about why this kick isn't right, so I know what to change. If I don't know why this is wrong, what the fuck am I looking for? What am I changing? If I don't know why this is wrong, what am I changing? I'm guessing, aren't I? I'm just going to go on Splice, and I'm going to guess, and I'm going to get frustrated, right? We've all been there. None of us are above it. It happens to everyone. Right, so we're not going to do that. We're going to be much smarter than that, and I'm going to teach you how to never get stuck in that fucking bullshit of being lost on Splice or sample packs, just sieving through the wrong kicks forever, right? So what's wrong with the kick? Again, we'll come back in. Let's listen. to be fair to my ears today, is I don't even need to do all this calibration. There's not enough low end in it. It's maybe too short for the bass line. It's trying to be like this tight sort of, almost feels like it should have like a real, like, to be fair, I do have a real bass guitar like plug-in doing that, but I've made it all quite bam, bam, bam. This feels like it's meant to be from where it was sampled from, a lighter, more housey disco record that doesn't have loads of low end in it. And there is literally the problem. I sampled a kick drum from a record that's completely different to my song. There's your fucking mistake, Ben. Well done. Slow clap, lad. Slow clap the lad. Like, that's why it's not right. This kick drum is a really good kick drum from a different type of funky house. Now, it's not even like it's from a different style of music. You could even get them both in the same set, but it's not the same. The record is different, right? And we don't need to call out what record it is. I can't remember what the song's called, I'll be honest. Yeah, well, sometimes when I sample, I don't pay that much attention. I don't really sample in a way where I hear a song, go, oh, I really like this song, I want to steal the stuff. It's typically me going, oh, I wouldn't mind just like sampling some stuff for a new kick drum. Let's just throw some MP3s in and just steal a few sounds out and then just like put them in a folder and see what I can cook up with it. That's kind of more how my sampling goes, to be honest. It's less like, oh, I really want to take this sound for a reason. It's more like, let's just take a load of cool sounds and see what I can come up with. That's, if you understand sampling, you understand that different kind of modality is different in the way you approach it. So we need to change the kick. What I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this kick first, all right? Because I want to one-to-one it. Now, this is the next, again, sorry, I keep talking all the time, but this is the next, when we were talking about referencing at the same volume is massively important. This is the next really important thing you guys cannot sleep on. You have to keep your old kick drum in. I'm going today, sorry, this is like a double-edged sword because there's two ways I can explain this, and both of them are right and wrong at the same time, depending on what happens. I'm going to duplicate it with all the same plugins on to start with, so it is one-to-one the same. But that can cause problems because if we add a different kick drum, then none of this is right. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, but I'm going to start there because of the way I'm going to approach it. The reason I'm going to do it like this is because I need to be able to calibrate this old kick that's wrong versus the new ones that we add one-to-one at the volume. I can't change the volume of the old one now. I'm going to call this old, right? This volume cannot change. That will fuck up everything. This kick at this volume is the thing that's not right, okay? Now, as you can see on here, and we'll talk about this a little bit as well, I've done stuff on here to make this kick better, which you would have seen on the last live stream, right? So without my stuff on it, it's straight up not doing the job. Sorry, it's two of them. And then here's my attempt to make it better. Not bad, Benji. You gotta be, yeah, no shade there. Not a bad attempt to make a better sounding kick drum. It's more low end, it's more warmth, it's more depth. But like I always say, I prefer just to have a good kick drum with no plugins on it. That's me. Like, I've had to do quite a lot of work to get this kick drum to work, which probably means it's not the right kick drum, which, you know, we now know. Okay, but so I'll leave them on there, and it's just important because if we're saying this kick drum isn't right, it needs to stay exactly there because that's how we've calibrated not right. So not right has to stay exactly the not right that isn't right about the not right. Do you get me? It can't move around because we've calibrated it. Okay, so we're working to improve this kick in its state. Very fucking important. Okay, so the new kick, right, what we're going to do here is we're going to try, I want to show you a couple of plugins now and a couple of different ways of approaching this. Now, I've got two ways that I really like. There's a bunch of different ways that I make kicks, but on this live stream, to be real, this live stream is me actually trying to get this kick drum correct, right? And I want to do that in a way that, I want to show you the way that I would approach this song. I've got so many tricks up my sleeve that there's just like, you can't do them all on one live stream for all different sort of things, like different, not just kick drums, just everything. So things will just come out of the wash over the years. I'm not going to do 5 live streams and then disappear. This is every week now forever, I suppose, until, until YouTube collapses. Yeah, finding the kick is always, Raw's amazing, man. Raw's, as far as stock plugins go, like Raw's peak, like it's really, really, really good. I do like it a lot. You've seen me talk about it a few times. It's a great plugin. Anyway, right, so I've got to get away from here now because now we've got to go make a new kick. So let's do that. Where should we do it? We'll do it up here. Let's open up a MIDI and an audio. And we're going to bring in truth. So I'm going to bring in the actual master here. I'm going to show you how to steal a kick drum, but I'm allowed to do this because it's from my record. So you're only allowed to do wink, wink, this on your own music. Wink, wink, okay? Don't come coming for me. I'm going to use a plugin called Tools Drum Clone. And this has to go onto a MIDI channel, which I've opened up 2 audio channels like an idiot. MIDI channel, Ben, MIDI channel. Drum clone onto a MIDI. I'm going to open it up. Now, the one annoying thing about drum clone is that if you try and consolidate this, let's say you just like, oh, I'll just take the bit that I want to sample and consolidate it and load it in, it will crash it. I don't know if they fixed that. I'm definitely not going to test it out on a live stream. But as far as I'm aware, and I haven't updated it, so it will be the same for me. I don't know if there's been an update. Oh, look, Ableton's got a new update. Things you didn't know. Drum clone, if you consolidate, it will crash. If you know what I mean, you know what I mean. If you don't worry about it. So I'm going to load the whole thing in. Boosh, like this, right? Now, why this is annoying is because now I've got to go and do it myself, where if I could just taken a section of it, it probably would have done it for me. I think the thing that drum clone, do you know what? I'll be honest with you, drum clone is really, really good for getting kicks. That's about it. No, quite literally, that's it. I think that's kind of what, they should have called it kick clone, to be honest with you. I think calling it drum clone, and I don't think the word clone makes any sense. If you guys want to hit me up and let me know why it's called that, and maybe I'm missing something, because I might be missing something here, please let me know in the comments below if there's other ways of using this that I'm just completely being an idiot on. And the reason I'm being an idiot on it is because I didn't bother reading the blog because it was a lot of really small words on a dark background. So I was like, just let's open a plugin and see how it works. You know what I mean? It was one of those for me. I'll be real with you. I just didn't. I was one of those I didn't read the manual ones. I'll be honest. So yeah, if anyone knows, you know, if I'm using this wrong, please let me know in the comments because I could be missing something. But what's annoying is because you've got to now find it yourself, which is fine. So what we've got to do is figure out where the kick comes in, which is here. From experience, I can see there's no low end there, and then there's low end here. So we're going to try and find the kick. And you'll notice it's on autoplay, which is great. So we can move the start point, and as you let it go, it plays. I would say that's a clap with it. I think that's a clap with it there. That sounds like a kick on its own. There is a woo there, though. I don't know if that's that next kick or if it's a bass line. There we go, it's just a bass line. I'm sorry, it's just a kick that was after. So I'm going to change the end point so it's not picking up anything. Now, what's really clever about this, because it's done it all for me, although I always adjust this, is it's done a lot of the kind of work that we would traditionally have done with samplers, like using a low pass filter to roll the tops away and things like that, right? So the great thing about drum clone is it kind of does a lot. I don't know if it's using AI or if it's an algorithm. Again, didn't read the manual, to be honest. But what it's doing is, here's a piece, here's like the transient and everything, and goes, oh, I know how to put the parameters of the filter and the volume onto that, so it cuts out the kick drum for you, and it does a pretty good job. Apart from, that's really good. Like that is like quite a sonically clean low end taken from that record. It is very clever. You can do this manually with pretty much any sampler. You can probably do it with Simpler and Ableton, to be perfectly honest with you. But I do quite a lot. I like the interface. I will say that I do really like the interface, and I like the ease of use in that kind of way. And then I can actually just sort of like muck around with that myself. You've got recovery, sensitivity, you can mono the noise and the tonality. We'll have a listen to all of that. We'll bring this up here a sec. And then tone. You can see that's the hi-hat. So you can remove the hi-hat. You can get a bit more specific. You see how it's doing it? You can actually start going, oh no, I actually want a bit more of the top end staying in. I don't mind a little bit of hi-hat in my kick drum sometimes, if I'm perfectly honest. It's not the end of the world, if you ask me. But you can. Now, another reason this is really, really powerful, if you don't know, sampling techniques. A classic sampling technique, which is one I use quite a lot, is just taking a kick drum out of a record. You'll see me do that quite a lot on stuff. Like, I'll just take a kick drum, hi-hats and all, shakers, everything that's on there. I'll just take it out and pop it on, and then maybe try and filter it out. But sometimes I'll just chuck it in and it sounds good. What I like about this is the way the filter just seems to have a really nice sound to it. Forgive me if I'm wrong. This is an area where cleverer people than me, geekier people than me can probably maybe make me look stupid in the comments. Feel free, like, let me know. Like, always let me know. I'm not the expert of the world here, by the way. I'm just a dude who makes music, so let me know. But I find the filter on this sounds really good. Like, it has something to my ear. It feels very clean. And what it's doing is the way it filters those hi-hats out is you don't lose any of the low end of the kick. So obviously, if you've got a kick drum, right, if you've got a kick drum, that's the clap, kick drum, and you go, oh, I don't want the hi-hat. Unfortunately, the low end of the kick doesn't stop there. The low end of the kick doesn't stop there. It actually travels all the way down, especially on a longer kick like this. So you lose the tail of the kick, which makes it, you know, you don't get the thing you liked out of the sample that you liked, right? So drum clone is a good way. Again, you can do this on like if you know what you're doing, you can just do it yourself on any sampler, to be honest. It's just low pass filtering. But I like the UI of this. I've just become quite comfortable with it quite quickly. I quite like it. So I've got that soloed. Quite like it. And then you can do, what was I doing the other day with this? Just going to try and, there we go. Get a little bit more of the actual top end. I'll just turn that one up. Now you've got to have one at the bottom. So I don't lose, get a bit more of that, like the warmth from it. Yeah. And what, excuse me, like a habit of hitting like play stop whenever I'm doing anything. And it's because it's automatic. And then you can turn those off, which is really cool. So you can hear the difference of it without. And you can make that judgment call then, like, oh, actually, it sounds really good being clean. Or like, oh, no, I like it being like that. Or then obviously finessing that a little bit. Saying, oh, I want, right on the start of it, you can shape it. And then look, you just literally drag and drop it out. It's great. Let's open up another audio channel. You can actually just drop it straight into Simpler as well, which is cool. You just go, boom, there you go, there's your kick. So you can fuss around and make a few different variations. There you go, there's your kick, right? Really, really powerful, really, really fun. I like the UI, I like the sound of it. Yes, you can do it on any other sampler in the world, but it's free as well. Forgive me if I'm wrong. It was free when I downloaded this. It's in beta, it's for free. Might be worth just going and have a little nose on it if you like, you know, if you're struggling with kick drums. I do rate it. Not affiliated, don't know them, I have no idea. Just, I think it's a cool plugin. Now what we can do is just chuck that in here. And what I will do is turn all these plugins off, right? Because it's such a different kick drum that they're not, you know, they're going to be no help. We're going to turn all those off. We can get rid of this one, which was just another kick drum I was trying out at a different time, right? We can turn this one off. Come up to here. Turn off the whole song that's playing at the same time now. We could probably delete that. I'll leave it there for a minute. So we've got, I did put that on the new kick drum, didn't I? Yeah, okay, cool. So now we've got the old kick drum and the new kick drum. The next thing to do is make them the same volume-ish. Okay, it's a little louder. But we've got two very different kick drums now. Now you can start hearing your record in a very new and unique way. I really like doing this because even if you don't like it and it's not right, in this case, it's such a different kick drum that you can calibrate the kind of like not deep enough kick drum to the maybe too deep kick drum. And at this point, I just want to pause and talk about a couple of points on kick drums and what we're really looking out for, what's really important. So we have a couple of factors as we start working on this kick now. I want to sort of set up, because we're going to go and synthesize a kick next as well using a plugin. I want to talk about what it is that I'm listening out for that can make a kick right or wrong, to give you some kind of like a nice framework of like a blueprint of like, oh yeah, think about these points on a kick drum, right? So if I open up, yeah, we'll do it on this. This audio looks fairly clear on there. Yeah, that's big enough, isn't it? So I would say can I get my pen tool up? I've got to do, oh, it worked first time today. Okay, we are on fire today. So the first thing is the length of the kick drum. Okay, that is really, really important to pay attention to. The length of all sounds is hyper important on every single sound, especially in your drums, but everything. This is something that people massively sleep on, but I think for obvious reasons. But how long a sound is one of the things you might be sleeping on. Now, I'm not saying everything has to be gated precisely. It's not that so much, but it is you need to respect the length of a sound and understand that the length of a sound is actually really important to how that sound comes across within your record. If it's too long, it gets in the way of things. If it's too short, it feels too thin, right? So on the first basic value is just think about the length of your kick drum. Listen to your reference tracks. There is a difference. There's not right and wrong. Long is not better than short. Okay? On the song that I've just sampled this from, my own record, the kick is very long. So let's take note of that. The kick is very long. Does that work in regards to my bass line? And we'll get into all this in a second, but this is how you break it down. This is what you have to think about if you want to understand how to get the perfect kick in your song. So the length is a very important factor. Now, inside of the length of it, how long it plays for, there's obviously other areas to look out for as well. Okay, so I break a kick down into 3 areas. So you've got the length as being like the whole thing. You just sort of think about that first, almost like when you're going through samples, for instance. If your reference tracks are like tight kick drums and like bam 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 bass lines and bum bum, like real tight kicks, the first thing you should be looking out for are tight kicks. Don't look for long kicks. Yeah, but you can shorten it on a sampler, Ben. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Yeah, and you can get good results out of that, and maybe that's what we're going to do here. In fact, it probably is. But just to keep this shit in your head when you're looking for samples, like if you're trolling through loads of really long-tailed samples when you're looking for short, you're wasting creative time, potentially, right? Potentially. So just, it's one of those things you keep in mind. Right? And inside of here are 3 areas I think are massively important. The first one is the sort of punch at the start. You could start being really geeky and talking about milliseconds on this, but I'm fucking not going to bore you with it. I'll be honest, yeah. You've got the punch, you've got the body, and then you've got the tail. I've run out of colours. Why have I only got 3 colours? That's very stingy. And the tail, right? Punch, body, and tail, okay? And they make up the length, right? You put them all together, and you've got the length of a kick drum, right? Now, all 3 of these areas can be stylistically very different, and I'll demonstrate a few variations to this when we design our own kick drum in a moment. But just being aware of them, you're upping your game massively, because different styles of kick drums, honestly, different subgenres will have different types of kick drums, and what makes that kick drum that type could just be that they're a bit different here, or the body's always a bit like this, or the tails are always a bit like that, right? It really can be the difference between what is right and wrong perfect about a kick drum. Okay, so we're going to pay attention to that as we start like working on this sound, right? So we've got, you don't need to worry about exactly where I've drawn these, by the way. I know some people's brains will go like, oh, is it like exactly what frequencies, exactly what time? Get that kind of shit out of your head. Don't worry about it. Just think about it, the beginning, the middle, and the end of a kick drum. They're all 3 are important. You've got the punchy bit at the start, the oomphy body, weighty bit in the middle, and the tail at the end that kind of either is there or it isn't, depending on the kick drum, right? Right, now let's put that into practice. Let's listen. Get rid of the old kick drum. I think it is too long. What I like doing with Simpler is going to one-shot mode for this and actually just dragging this in. You can just fade out, I call it smoothing out, but fading out the end so you don't get clicks and pops. What can be really hard to do is to try and get it right. I like to get it wrong first, like go too tight, and then kind of bring it back so I can feel out the sweet spot. Okay, obviously too tight, yeah? Good thing to do now is calibrate against the one that wasn't right. Another really interesting thing to look out for, thanks for the sub by the way, is the listening out for when you can hear the tail. Now this is hard because if you don't have really good speakers or really good headphones, it is harder to do this. But you can think about it in this kind of way. You should be able to hear a pinch of salt with this a little bit, guys. Okay, this is one of those music things where like, there's just cases that go against this. It's a good way to think, I guess. It's definitely a good starting position. It's something very, very worth practicing. If you think about what you can hear in a record is the things that are important, and what you can't hear is baggage and is actually potentially problematic. And you get this a lot in low end stuff. One of the most classic things everyone knows is rolling away 30 hertz or whatever, because that's the frequencies you can't hear. We're not going to get into that now. I'm not a big believer in that. I've never been a big believer in it. There's definitely, I mean, I've got Posh, I've got a Manley massive passive in front of me, and one of the things I love about it are the filters on it for like taking out the lows and stuff. So pinch of salt again, as always. There's always a bit of this and a bit of that with me. But I am not one of these people that rolls out all the lows on everything. I like muddiness. I like it earthy. I like it feeling a bit raw and a bit clunky. You listen to my music, I love that sort of thing. So I don't mean that we have to be really preciously precise about exactly frequencies and exactly lengths. It's not that. It's just, to my ear, right? If I go too short and I bring this back, there's a point in time where I'm moving this along, and sure, it's getting quieter, so it's harder to hear. I'm moving this along and I can't hear any difference. So what are those frequencies doing for me? If I can't hear, and again, you need a good room, good speakers to know. Let's be real clear here. If you're on your laptop speakers, this isn't going to work for you, okay? When I roll this length back and I stop hearing any change, I consider that this might be a good place to stop moving, because there's no frequencies that are adding anything meaningful. In fact, they're probably getting in the way of my bass line. I just can't really tell because it's very hard to hear that stuff, especially in headphones. So at that moment there, that's where you can hear the body. So you could hear the punch the whole time, right? If you think about the 3 sections. So for the whole first part of that, we're only hearing the sort of the first section really. And then once we get to about here, you start hearing the body properly as well. So you get the punch and the body now. So next up is the tail. How much tail do we really need? Calibrate. So if you go all the way, you can hear there's this really low. So what I've managed to isolate here just by my ear and checking it against my record is I'm removing naturally the long tail at the end in this particular record. So what I'm going to do now is solo the bass line in here. Then we're going to start talking about key and everything as well. Don't worry, I'm not going to ignore it. Just a bit easier to really dial in these 2 low end features. And yes, look, I'm not going to get into the mixing of the bass line. Obviously, to get a kick perfect, and I do recognize the elephant in the room, by the way. I'm sure someone's already put it in the comments. I should have said this at the start. I recognize the elephant in the room of you need to work on a bass line with a kick. There is work that needs to be done to the bass line for the kick to sound good. 100%. Okay, I've left it an hour to say that. There's probably like 1,000 enraged people in the comments before they got here. Yeah, look, obviously, but we're focusing kick today, yeah? So I've already got stuff on that bass line. It's already being sidechained. That shit's already going on, yeah? So we're just going to fix the kick. So I'm just going to listen out for that again. I know this is a bit slow and steady, right? And I know I'm taking a long time just over the length of this kick drum. It's important. I think this bit starts to sound a little out of key. And when I say out of key, this is a fun one to explain. Tell you, this is a fun one to explain. Bass lines and kick drums being out of key. It's to do with phase. There isn't a harmonic. There is, but our ears can't really pick up on the harmonic key of a sub in a kick for a fraction of a second versus the sub that's in a bass line layer for a fraction of a second. When I say out of key, and this is how people talk about it, it's not so much, you sort of learn to hear it in that way. I'll be honest with you, I sort of do. Personally, I sort of hear it in that kind of way, but I think the use of that language can be very misleading for those of you that are trying to learn this stuff. What's really going on are low frequency waveforms, which are very long sine waves. Yeah, really, really long. I think like 100 hertz is like 16 foot long or something like that, like they're 5 meters long. So smudging the numbers here, I'm gonna be honest with you, I might not be precise. Let me know in the comments below what the precise number for this is. But I think 100 hertz is about 16 foot long. So from peak So you go on a waveform from peak to peak is about 5 meters, something around that sort of benchmark. That's long. That's the size of this fucking room. So that frequency is long. So what can happen is if you've got frequencies that are long and then they're slightly different, at certain points they start to phase a little bit. And that can create all kinds of problems. It can create all kinds of problems in the low end that makes the low end undefined. It makes it feel boggy and like mushy, you know, that kind of like undefined low end. Not 100% the only thing, but this is something that can happen, especially when you're talking about using deeper kick drums like this with a big bass line. This is hard mode 101. A big long bassy kick drum and a really like bass full and quite active with musical notes, so the bass line's not staying on one note, the bass line's being quite musical as well. That's quite a tough ask for any music producer. What we're doing here is hard mode. So what I'm listening out for is the length of the kick. As the length gets a bit longer, you're going to get that sub come through more, right? You're going to get that body, which has got more woo in it than that tail certainly has, as we heard when I soloed it. So I'm just sort of thinking about it in that kind of way. And I've got very good headphones on. I can hear it. Let's take out the sample and just have the bass line. Let's take out the bass line and just have the sub a sec. Here's the sub, just so you guys can hear it with a bit of clarity, yeah? 3.43 meters. Can you look up what is 5 meters? Maybe I'm thinking of 60 hertz or 50. I'm not thinking of 50 hertz. 50 hertz is longer than that. I have 5 meters in my head. I've probably just remembered it wrong, to be honest, Spooky. But yeah, it's long. So it's the width of this room. This room's 3.5 meters wide from peak to peak, which is, you know, it's like, it's long. There's a lot of room for kind of earnest to go on in there. I noticed something here. My ear notices something. Now, this is going to be a test of whether or not Ben remembers ears. Is Ben remember full of shit, or has he got a good ear? Let's find out. Let's find out live on stream. I think the lower notes of this bass line, let me show you this so I can, because I know this very well. So we're on D sharp, but it goes up to G. I think G sounds in key, like to the point where I think that kick drum might be in G, or something harmonically fitting. It feels, I mean, yes, it is just basically not lower as well, just to call out every fact here. The fact it's just not, you know, the fact it's up higher makes it actually less heavy against the kick. But it definitely, these notes feel slightly more in key than these notes to me. When I say key, again, I'm talking in regards to kind of the phase, I suppose, is what we're really, I mean, everything is phase in music, right? But the phase of those low frequencies, just something goes a bit about it, a bit, you know, it doesn't, it doesn't feel quite right. Will just someone edit that out, yeah? That's something not right about that. So let's have a look. Let's see if we can use a stock plugin here. Let's get this little guy out of the way. You can go over on the other screen. Let's use a stock plugin tuner on this to see what it is. Because the other kick drum didn't sound out of key. So let's calibrate that a second. That one doesn't feel as out of key, does it? It's not got anywhere near as much low end in it. So do we need a kick with less low end? See how the calibration's beginning to make sense? Still sounds more in key when it goes up to G. I wonder what F. Interesting. And what's this one? Tuner. I'll stick it right at the end because some of this stuff might change the key of it slightly harmonically. Oh, this one is actually G. That's super interesting. I wonder why. I wonder if that's why the kick drums felt good to me in the mix. Did I change the pitch of it, or was it just naturally in key? I went down one semitone. I think we did that on the live, didn't we? Down one semitone. So I'm assuming going down one semitone, making this G, is why it felt good originally, because it's actually harmonically syncing with this second phrase of the bass line. So what do you do when you got a bass line like this, right? This is the funny thing about, yeah, it's 60 hertz. Thank you. you've got two. It's not one that, you know. It's when you bass lines get more. Basically, you have to find a happy medium. This is where things become a bit more. This is where you get the Ben Remember of like, oh fuck it, just put it at a key that sounds good. Stop being a dick about it. Stop trying to be cleverer than you are, Ben, and just listen to the song and put it where it sounds good. Okay. I'll be honest. That's a lot of how I work. I like the geeky stuff. I can sit and chat about it, but honestly, when I'm working, I just kind of tend to go like, oh, I think it needs to be like this. So this kick, what have I done? So, this has gone down one semitone. Let's go back up to 0, because this kick, inside baseball, is a kick that is down 2 semitones on the other record. So going down is 3 semitones down from that original sample is a lot. So let's put that back to 0. You might want to go up now on this record. And then, so G doesn't exist then? Is that what we're saying? G doesn't exist. Okay, fine. No, it's probably worth mentioning, right, that tuner is, what would you call it? Ah, yes, a bit fucking shit. We could get, I've got Melodyne on here. We could get Melodyne out and do it properly, couldn't we? But I'm not too fast. It's somewhere within this realm. It does at least help me to calibrate a little bit that the kit was a little bit too deep. I think maybe just going up 1 semitone is going to help it. I'm going to get my eyes off stuff and start listening a little bit more as well. When I'm looking at things, I just get a bit misled. Yeah, so I'm hearing that quite quickly. I'm sorry, I hear things very quickly. I'll explain and show you guys. So -1 is where we were at. +1 is where I think it sounds better. Do you guys hear that? Yeah, I know we're on YouTube, but there's a very slight change in the way the low end is phasing. It's just in the very last tiny second of the tail of the kick drum. At -1, there is definitely this detuned wobble thing that happens, and going up +1, so up 2 semitones, that disappears for me. It's a small thing. Well, it's not small. On a really big fucking pair of speakers in a club or at a festival, that's not a small thing, is it? That's really loud and obvious. So yeah, these sort of details can really help. So I want to get rid of you, put you on. Yeah, that disappears for me nicely. Sorry, I had the wrong kick there, didn't I? Yeah, I'm noticing it on the old kick drum as well now. That's really interesting. So the new kick drum, let's try, what did we say this one was? D, F, let's go up. 2 goes to A, so we can only go up 1. We could do detuning, but do we all want to sit here and watch a grown man detune a kick drum? I don't know. Okay, so again, we'll do the same check on the new kick drums we just did on the old kick drum. Yeah, and I feel like I can actually add a bit more of that tail back in there now. Also, important little thing, I've got warp turned off, just because I don't want warp changing anything. I don't want it. I want the length of the kick drum to potentially change. You can hear it's actually making the kick shorter because it's 2 semitones faster. It means the kick drum's going to be slightly shorter, which actually might work in my favour. That sounds pretty good considering we're not processing anything at all. I like that. So let's compare. Let's go out of the solo mode and go old kick, new kick with just that done. And again, the old kick's got a lot more work done, so it's not a fair fight yet, right? Oh, I muted stuff, excuse me. We've got a much cleaner sounding kick, haven't we? The old kick is a much more boxy 909 raw kind of kick drum, which works in a certain type of record. I'm starting to believe we need something somewhere in the middle. So what I want to show you now is some techniques to work on a kick drum with plugins to maybe try and get a little bit of life out of it. And then we're going to spend, hey, whatever amount of time, like I said at the start, maybe this goes on for 3 hours. It's looking like it might. Well, it'll be 2 hours, definitely. We'll do this for like 15 minutes, then we're going to go use a plugin to actually make our own kick from scratch, where we can actually start really looking at tailoring things to be just how we want, and then maybe we can layer some bits together as well. So what we want to do here is think about what's needed. It needs a little more tone. Could we go back and resample it with more tone in it? That's the first thing my brain does. Go back to source. I'm not going to do that today for time's sake. I know you guys are probably getting a bit bored of watching me go around in circles here. This is very, again, my live streams are just me working on music, by the way. It's not planned out. I've got no like rotor. I've not got a bit of paper somewhere on the slide down there telling me at what time I should move on to what topic, like some people do. I'm just making music with you guys. Which, as you all know, sometimes, you know, takes longer. Takes a long time to do stuff, doesn't it? Especially when you're talking. Anyway, right, so I want a bit more tone in here. Let's add, I don't always do EQing first, interestingly. I'm going to put an I'm not going to use EQ 8 because I'm not insane. I hate EQ 8. I'm just throwing it out there. Shots fired, I just hate it. Just hate what it looks like and everything about it. I'm going to put an EQ on. You know, jokes from last stream about EQing solo, same applies, but I'm going to do it at the moment just so you guys can clearly see what I'm doing. So here's the tone, right? Here's the bite, and here's the sub at about 50. And it comes down to what we think we need more of in the mix. It's turned it up a little bit, but it definitely needs to be a bit louder, doesn't it? I'm going to do the simple EQ curve at the moment. All I'm doing here is an area that most people would remove, 200. I'm going to boost because it's got plenty of this, and I actually want more of this guy. I want more sort of tone in this particular record. This particular kick drum needs a little more tone to it, so I'm going to just add a little bit of body to that kind of 100 to 200 hertz. Going to remove the boxes. You notice how I was turning the EQ up and then rolling around left and right to hear it? There's just like a boxiness here that I didn't like, so I'm just removing a few dB of that and then just making sure I don't completely dull out the sort of mid-tops. So just sort of counteracting this move with this move just to keep that sort of bite in the top end on the kick drum. That will probably need to be changed and wiggled around and that kind of thing. The reason I've done that is just to try and get a tonality in the kick that I like before hitting the first plugin. Excuse me, I need to get back to my arrow over here. Next plugin is going to be... What do I want to use? Typically, I'll go for a bit of saturation. I'm just trying to think how I want to do it. I'll tell you what, I'll show you a trick. I've done this on my Instagram and stuff before, but it's a good one that I like doing. I do it quite a lot. Take Saturn 2, turn this off for a second, put a band in, and the area that I want to translate better through the mix, which isn't the sub. The sub is there. This is something I always like to sort of do, and I'll show you another trick for this in a sec. The sub is there. It's this sort of area I want to kind of bring up a bit. So I'll start by over pushing it, which flattens everything. Right, I'll solo this so you guys can hear what the fuck's going on, right? So that's flattening that top end. So I'm going to take the top end out of that equation, turn you off. And I'm going to try and isolate be careful with this. So I'm just listening and thinking rather than talking for a second. Right, so this is why I removed some of this boxiness, because I had a feeling around, it's sort of like somewhere about here is where I want to pull stuff up. So you just got to wiggle this around a little bit. Again, we need context to know if this is right or wrong. Those frequencies not exist or something? What happened there? That was really odd, wasn't it? I was expecting to hear something then. How weird is that? Yeah, it's just a bit, isn't it? It's okay. I mean, it sounds a lot better. I'm just coming over to look at the volume to make sure we've not gotten like way louder than the old one, which is going to be unfair. Definitely feels a lot cleaner. I think even just doing what we've done here, if you exported that and put the two masters up against each other in a mix, this new kick would feel more in place with this record. The old kick's a little more stylistic though, isn't it? I think there's people watching this stream that probably like the old kick better. Let me know in the comments if you are one of those people. You're not actually wrong. It's missing. Someone just asked me in the chat, could you not just, I'll read it out, and keep some of the mids and da-da-da. Should I try that? Should I try and EQ the old kick? The problem that you get is with this, if you actually try and bring out the low end in a kick drum too much, you will create a lot of muddiness. You have to understand that EQing is manipulating phase. And whilst it's done in a very clever way, especially if you don't leave this on 0, someone's going to call me out. Someone is going to call me out on that on the comments. There's no way someone hasn't already done it in the comments. People who watch this after the stream. Oh, that's funny. I'll tell you why it is, and I've really got to change it. I just keep forgetting to do it. My computer fucking balked itself out about 6 months ago, and I had to reinstall loads of stuff. Originally, I had my FabFilter Pro Q4 set up in a way so it would open just naturally with linear phase on. And I've got so used to not having to do it that I keep forgetting to do it, and everyone calls me out on it on every lesson, on every Instagram video, and I'm sure now on every live. Like, mate, is there a good reason you're not using linear phase? Yes, because I'm a donut and I keep forgetting to change it. That's if that's a good enough reason. Yeah, we don't need to worry about what it is. It's just linear phase sounds better for the time being. Right, we'll keep it as that. So the old kick, let's see, but you will and can just make things sound muddy. Phase can be an issue, yeah, and when you're dealing with a kick drum, you know that classic thing where someone comes to me and says, "Oh, my kick just doesn't sound good in my car," which always annoys me because the car's a terrible place to listen to music. We won't need. It's an old school thing. It is often because people are taking a kick drum that doesn't have the oomph in it and then trying to add it in with an EQ. That's 90% of the problem with most people's kick drums. Taking a kick that doesn't have it and trying to give it with an EQ, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Which is why I'm doing all this hard work over, you know, all the stuff that we're doing right now about finding a deeper kick and stuff. That's why I'm doing all that stuff. But anyway, let's have a little look. Let's see. Let's start comparing. I have to take a bit more of this out rather than boost, right? So by removing the boxiness, your ear notices the low end more. So rather than boosting the lows, you can remove the boxiness, and that makes the low end appear louder in contrast. It's, you know, that's EQing 101. Because I'm already boosting like nearly 3 dB. I don't really want to go anymore. That can now become louder. So that's about as close as I think I can get it just with a simple EQ curve. I still think this kick drum suffers from this kind of like, it all comes back down to what I was saying. It isn't a technique that fixes that kick drum. It isn't a technique that fixes it. It's the wrong style of kick drum. And this is another point to, you know, I'm drip feeding this stuff into the live stream, but we've got the length of it. We've got the start, the middle and the end of the kick drum. there's another factor that kind of wraps up everything, which is the style, which is an interesting concept. It's a very abstract concept to talk about when you're talking about a kick drum. But there are quite clearly different styles of kick drum. You know, if you don't hear them yet in your musical journey, you definitely will learn to hear them. They are very different, and they do have different jobs. They are, you know, I use the analogy of for this with vocals all of the time. Like, there is no vocal in the world that's amazing at everything. An amazing vocal is really good at the thing that it's doing. Like, a really amazing gospel vocal is a really shit 80s ballad. A really amazing 80s ballad is a really shit hip hop vocal. It's a shit rap, if they're not rapping in an 80s style. You know what I'm saying? So even an amazing thing is only amazing at its thing. It's not amazing at everything. And kicks, everything's the same as this. Like, kicks are the same as this. This kick drum that I originally had comes from a different style of house music. A very different style. There's a real nuance to this. It's still funky, it's still disco-y, it's still sample-based. You know, I think, I might be wrong, I'm sorry if I'm wrong about this, but I think this is from an LF System, this kick. But it was one of those really, like, housey, like, no low-end sort of records that those guys have done. And, like, you know, it's just the sort of stuff you'd hear on Defected and that, like, back in the day. And, yeah, just that disco-y stuff. Do you know what I mean? New disco stuff. And that's not what this is. This record's turned into a bit more of like a Ben Remember house record, which is inherently just a bit heavier, a bit chunkier. So the style of the kick drum, of the old kick drum, isn't translating into my song now. Now my song is a bit more realised. So it was a sample choice mistake on my part at an early phase, because I didn't have a clear vision about what I wanted to do with this record, which was very much a part of this. This was a very creative, this is one of those songs that has evolved as it's gone. There was a vision, but that vision has morphed a little bit over time, and actually morphed itself into the vision being more me and less what I was being inspired by, and become more me, which actually makes a lot of sense. But just mean, as an artist, I have to recognise things like, that's why this kick doesn't feel right to me. When I played it in a set, I was like, that kick's not right for this song. Like, it just, the vision was there at the start, but now in fact, cold like light of day, it's not right, you know? So we're going to get this one right. So I actually, you know, that's just the EQ on this one anyway, and a bit of Saturn 2, which isn't sounding great. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to try something else. I might actually just get rid of you. Not all of you guys. Don't be linking together like that. Let's go. I'll tell you something I really like. I haven't done for a while, but it might work. But it might be too much low end. Is a little bit of tape. I'm going to do it after the EQ. A little bit of tape. Bear with me a moment while I fiddle. Which kick do you mean, Gary, when you say in the EQ curve, basically the kick is creating the low end? Me personally, I don't hear the low end bass, which we saw earlier. Which kick drum do you mean? It's a lot of what you're probably hearing is the fact that this kick drum isn't loud enough at the moment. It quite literally, good timing is why I'm adding this. Tape distortion, this particular tape I really like, the Oxide on 15 IPS, which adds low end into a tape sort of sound. On 7.5, it's more hollow. On 15, you get this low end. It's a really, really geeky but amazing trick. Rather than EQing things, to use 15 IPS on the right tape. Yeah, they're really good for drums, man. Like, I've used this technique from back in the day, like when I was making techno stuff, like pre-pandemic and stuff. Like, I was using this quite a lot like that. And then I just want it, and also it just adds like a body to stuff. I've got an old school Neve tape emulator hardware down here that I really like for this sort of stuff. Now it is louder, so let's do some game. Do a bit of gain matching, so this one's going to have to be turned down a bit. it just comes forward in the mix that a little bit more, doesn't it? It's really good. Now, I want to show you a technique that, I'll be honest, I haven't done in a long time, but I really actually genuinely think it's going to work on this record or for this particular thing, and it is about kick drums. So I want to show you. I'm going to open a return channel. I'm going to have to dig deep for some old plugins here that I haven't used in a long time. Don't think they're even going to be in my like go-tos, are they, anymore? No. Ah, cool. This is old school. But I think it's actually really going to work. So I want, I could use all different ones actually, to be fair. I want plugins. If I go raw, isn't it? Raw, we could use any saturation imaginable, but this emulates guitar pedals, and I just like it for this technique. I came up with this technique when I went for a phase of making techno. I actually signed some stuff to Denson Peaker's label, but it never got released. I was chatting to them about it all, and then the pandemic hit, and everything fell apart. It's a shame. And then I just never came back to techno after that. It was just big gap for me. Like, I was doing that stuff, like went from Ben Remember stuff to writing techno, was starting to get bits picked up and like paid attention to by like decent big artists in the techno scene. Then pandemic, I had my first child, started teaching, never made techno again. Spent like a year learning how to make techno. Now I want a compressor that's really overexcited. I'm trying to remember what it's called. Right, come on, brain, you can do this. What is that called? Let's look through the list, see if it jumps out to me. So I want Universal Audio. Oh, there's too many though, guys, and there's too many Universal Audio stuff. Right. As soon as I see it, no. Oh, brain it's like on the tip of my tongue. It's so frustrating. As soon as I see it, I'm gonna know it. I haven't used this in years. If not, we'll just, to be fair, I could probably use a stop plugin for a bit of fun as well. Oh, where are you? Where are you? It's got a really interesting name. Iconic compressor. There we go. Valley People Dynamite. Got ya. Right. So what we're going to do is we're going to send this kick into here. We're going to make this bad boy go really snappy. We're going to put it after the drive for the moment, and I might change my mind on that. I'm going to make something that sounds a little like that, right? Pure chaos. Okay, I'm going to put an EQ on there just in case I need to finesse the frequency so there's no phase. I think we should be okay, because we're altering the sound so much with distortion that it should be okay. Sounds ridiculous that that would be doing anything, doesn't it? But it does. Let me explain what I'm doing. So I'm using Dynamite. Now, the problem with this is I won't bother doing it today, but you typically would have to record that in because Dynamite reacts in such a like aggressive way that it's like one of those old school compressors where like the first like transient won't register in the same way. It has to catch up with itself. So you typically need to record them down and then put it in like all the way through the record. That's fine, right? Do you know what I mean? It takes 2 seconds to do that. We don't need to do it today. What I'm doing is using a really heavy distortion, but I really like the filter on this distortion because I don't want the distortion to like really do everything. I want to make quite a muddy, heavy sound that then I'm making very, very bitey. Yeah, sounds ridiculous soloed, I know. There's a lot of tone and a lot of body, and you'll notice when I turn this off and on, A, B off and on, it opens the. I really would need to take these headphones off and go out on my PMCs and stuff to dial this in 100, but you know, whatever. We're here for the fun. Getting rid of any of the super low stuff. That's not even that necessary, because to be honest, the distortion's kind of completely ruining that anyway. So I'm just sort of being safe with it really more than anything there. And it just adds like a sense of presence and snap to the kick drum, which really helps it come to life within the larger scope of the record. It makes the kick drum feel like it's sort of a part of the tops and a part of the lows all at the same time. And that kind of way it's like when you hear it on records, especially this is a very old French house kind of technique. This sort of thing is like is a classic kind of thing. The old Daft Punk records and things like that is the sort of thing they were doing back then. Just with a bit of a weird Ben Remember twist to it. So again, if we go like off on with it, let's go earlier in the record so there's like less shit going on to distract us so we can really hear. I quite like coming back in and finessing the EQ afterwards there, not over here, to make you just sort of, you can feel it out a little bit more. Of course, it's going to be sent over there. Now, the last technique I want to show you, just because I actually want to do it right now, and it's about balancing the low end in your kick. Then we're going to make our own kick drum. If you can imagine, we're still going to do another technique yet. We'll jump over and make our own kick drum. It's the fastest one, to be honest. I've got a plug-in that I don't know what it is about that plug-in. It just seems to do what I want it to do straight away. I'll show you it. I'm going to roll away all the lows. I'm going to roll away all the tops. I'm only listening to the lows. Like this. And then I'm going to turn this up until I think it sounds like the low end of the kick is at the right volume. Move this over here so you guys can see it properly. Whilst I do this, I'm just going to turn this bad boy off so it's not confusing my ear. This is a weird one, I know, and it does take a little bit of like getting used to what I'm talking about. I'm going to roll up a little bit more now so you can hear a bit more punch. And what I'm going to say is that's where I want the low end of this kick drum. So if I start bringing up the tops and they become too loud, they need to be turned down, not up. It's a really good way of calibrating kick drums. Can get a bit messy, but I've used it. I came up with this a few years back when I was really getting into mixing and mastering as a way to help my brain calibrate like lows, mids and tops for a kick drum. That one there's a little bit loud, you think? Okay, now let's bring in our little send and return. Calibrate it off and on. You'll notice I'm doing this on the live stream. I keep talking to the chat, sorry, and I should be looking at the camera. I'm turning it off and on all the time. You notice I'm doing that all stream, off, on, like I'm always recalibrating. Never just listen to it and change, because all you're doing is going, not right, building upon not right, building upon not right, building upon not right. You've got to keep turning things off and on to hear it, to know if it's right or wrong. You just want a little smidgen of extra vibe, a little bit of reverb on this top layer. Oh, you're spoiling us, Benji. After the compressor, well, I might need to use a little bit more distortion though. Maybe I go, we'll try switching these things around. I really like fucking around with the presets on this thing, because the first batch of presets are just the ambience. I've still not, oh, there we go. And I just like flicking through these. I think they're really fun, these ambience presets for this sort of stuff. I'm looking for something a bit like this. Obviously, we just need to calibrate this into the mix and stuff. I like listening to you. Actually, what? Just from experience, when you add subtle reverbs to things like this, like on a drum bus and stuff like that, you'll see me do things like this to a drum bus. Listen to the intro of your record. You will always find that you've added too much reverb. You hear the amount of times I've got it perfect and exported the master and listened to it, and as soon as you hear the intro, it's clearly too much reverb. It's because there's less going on, so you can hear it clearer. You need less than you think with this sort of stuff. It's typically the answer. Let's do a little test from where we're at right now. Let's do, we're on the intro, wrong song, smash. Just rematching the volumes there. Let's have a listen. Big improvement. I think that's a big improvement. I think that is a much more suitable kick for this record. Have you noticed how weird that is? It makes the mid-range sound different in the record. I mean, sure, like it's changing stuff, but like even the drums feel a little bit more open. To be fair, this isn't a mastered version, so it might be my master was a little bit. It's like on about 7 LUFs, so it's not very hard. It's not very. I know anyone who's watching this who isn't a house music producer, like 7 LUFs, dude. We go to like -5 these days. All right, calm down. I'm not even kidding. I'm not even kidding. It just feels better. I just think that feels a lot better. I don't know about you on chat. What do you think? Does that sound like a much better kick drum? No, I wouldn't suggest doing that. It's a really good idea. Sorry if I get your name wrong, Brav. Brav just said in the chat, what about if you automated the reverb on the kick drum so it wasn't too much on the intro, but then later on in the record there's more of it, like maybe on the drop. Hey, look, whoa. Why is Ben saying no? Like, maybe, always maybe with music's creativity. Like, whoa, creative police here. Like, maybe, try it. Like, maybe there's a record without, do you know what I mean? But if we go into like analytical kind of like theory mode a little bit on this, and the reason why I'm doing it, the reason why I've got that reverb on the kick drum is just to help that top end of the kick feel like the kick's got this like. So I should have explained this better at the time. Actually, I didn't explain it at all, did I? Which is unlike me. Like I've been talking for 2 hours out loud now straight. Trying banging through the phone speakers. That's all that matters these days, dude. That's the quality control of the phone speaker. Sad but true. The reverb on the kick drum, the reason for doing it, because it's the top end, it's only the top end crunchy kick drum that I'm doing it to. It's helping the kick drum feel like it has a bit more kind of space in the mix. It's very subtle. And it just helps that the kind of punchy, grimy top end that I've made feel like it soaks into the kind of stereo imaging a little bit. It's very tight reverb, so it feels more like, it's weird that a tight reverb does this interesting thing to your brain where it makes it feel like it's in front of your face, because that's how reverb would work in the real world. A reverb really short like that would be like someone putting like a tile this close to your face. So it does this thing of making things feel really spread across but really close to your face. And because it's done very subtly on the top of the kick, the raspy, crunchy part of the kick drum, it gives the illusion to the mind that like the big thing in the record feels like it's right in front of your face, like this, as well as being this big punchy thing down in the middle and the lows, obviously. That's why I've used that reverb. So I wouldn't want to automate it and change that dynamically across the record. Personally, I want it to have like an actual, it has a job that it's doing that works everywhere, regardless of where I am in the record. There's going to be bits in the record where it gets louder and that gets lost a little bit. That's fine. It doesn't matter. The human brain is focused on other things, right? This is quite a dynamic musical record, really, I suppose, compared to, you know, what we could have with tech house and house music. But yeah. Anyway, just to clarify, that's a good question. Actually, I should have made it more clear. Spelling mistake in the title? No. Is there? Never mind. I'm dyslexic. We're going to allow it for dyslexia. For the sake of dyslexia, we will allow the spelling mistake. I'm actually very used to most things in my life being spelt incorrectly, to be honest. You can tell when things aren't AI written nowadays because they've got spelling mistakes in them. Cool. So I'm actually really happy with that kick. I think that kick works a lot better. I need an ear break now. You know, we're going to do another kick drum, but to really go, this is the one. I need an ear break now. Get away. No, it's all good. You're all good. You're all good. It doesn't matter. I don't mind. I need an ear break, double check. I need to go out to speakers and stuff. Do you know what I mean? We've got to get the kick just right. We've got to get the kick just right. Right, let's show you how to make. I feel like the tops are like slightly filtered there. No, they're not. It's just my brain's getting. I'm losing. I can't stop it. I can't hear top end anymore. I've had the headphones on for too long. Let's again. Let's do a little bit of context to the new kick in the record a bit more, and then we will make a new. I'll show you the quickest one out of all of them is designing a kick from scratch. If you can believe it, I'll show you it. It's a very good little plugin to know. Old kick. Shakers sound a lot better as well. So I'm really happy with that kick. I think that sounds loads better. I still, again, fresh ears will probably tweak it, make it a little bit louder. Then I realise I don't have enough headroom, so I've got to turn the whole mix down to turn the kick drum up a little bit. Fine, it's all stuff that we do as music producers. The hard work's done, I would say, on that. And that's taking, I wasn't expecting that to work. I'll be honest with you, I thought that was going to be the quick one and would spend more time designing a kick from scratch. But that's actually worked quite nicely, taking a kick from another record, one of my records. But you should only take them from your own record. Don't ever take kicks from other people's records. Okay? Just to be clear. Just to be clear. Right. So we can get rid of this now. Attempt number 2. So we're going to go kick sampled from my own record. Okay, algorithm? You understand what I'm saying, algorithm? Okay. Kick. Design. Okay, right, and now we want to we want to open up a little plugin here. So VPS Metrum. Anyone ever use this? Ever heard of this? Yeah, the old one's not shit, mate. Do you know what I mean? The old one isn't a shit kick drum. I just think it doesn't quite. I think that new kick drum makes it sound more like a Ben Remember record. So especially if I'm sending it to Toolroom, I think that makes it sound more like what they want from me. If that makes sense. And I just noticed it. Like we were saying at the start of the stream, I really noticed it in the realm of like when I did a DJ mix for the Toolroom Radio recently, and I put a few unsigned records, including this one, in there. And when I put a few of my new ones and other people's records all together, this one, it really jumped out like that kick drum isn't right for this. It like didn't work with the other records I was playing either. It just was a stylistic thing for me. I really wanted to change it. Right, okay, so Metrum. This is by Vengeance. This is an amazing plugin. I learnt this from an engineer and artist called James Herr. Shout out James Herr if you see this, mate. I'm sure you're far too fucking busy to be watching this. James Herr is an engineer who's done a lot of tech house, a lot of stuff on Toolroom. He's had a hand in. He's a really lovely dude. And I had a conversation. I basically interviewed him for something I did with Toolroom Academy once a few years back. It was meant to be a 20-minute conversation. We were on the live stream, or it was like a webinar for 4 hours, me and him chatting. He had a lot of stuff to share and a lot of stuff to chat about. He's a lovely dude. And we were sharing about plugins, and he was saying, oh, dude, you've got to try this out. It is just for like, if you just want a real clean sonic kick drum, and then you can add layers to it as well, this is so good. You've got so much control. As like straight out the box, this is what it does. It's really, really good. So let me kind of give you a little walkthrough of Metrum. And if you guys are interested in this, maybe we'll do a live stream another day where I'll do like a deep dive on. If you ever see a plugin and you're like, oh, yeah, I know, I thought that as well. Vengeance does plugins. They've got a couple, man. They've got a few bits. They've got something else as well that's meant to be really good. I can't remember the name of right now off the top of my head. I think they've even done a synth. I might be just talking shit now. I'm not sure. I've been talking for 2 hours straight, so I might just start talking shit. Apologies for that, everyone. Right, I'm gonna borrow these MIDI. It's all gonna be the same. Now, one thing that is interesting about Metrum is it doesn't change the key, and I wish it did. please, if someone knows and I'm missing something, there's a button somewhere that changes this in Metronome itself, please let me know. I'll be honest, again, I've never read the manual for this. I'll be honest. Again, the second time today where I just go, you're going to have to call me out on it. I kind of just learn as I go. I'm one of those people. This is how my brain works. But sometimes I do miss a trick because of it. I actually try and train myself to not do it on like all my synths and stuff. I've read the manuals. It doesn't really help me. I get more done just tinkering. I guess it's the sort of person I am. But what I was going to say is it doesn't scale to the MIDI note. It will always play the same. It will always play the same no matter where you are, which is a shame because I would quite like to be able to do the key of it just by doing that. There's stuff in there you can change the key with. Don't get me wrong, you can change the key. It's like you just move this one around. But I just think it would have been cool to be able to do it like that. But maybe that's not how they want to do it. Yeah, I think it's just the way they want to do it. Anyway, right, so sorry if you're watching this back. I keep pausing because I'm reading the stream. I haven't been checking up on the stream that much on this stream. I'm just looking and making sure that I'm actually still live. It's hard to tell sometimes. Right, Metronome. So this is what we're going to do. We are going to chuck it in and we're just going to listen. Right, let's just chuck it into the mix, see what happens. Straight out the gate, there's a lot of characteristics there that sound very similar to the kick that we just sampled before any work was done to it. If you can cast your mind back to before we did all the work on the sampled one from my own record algorithm, it's got a very similar quality, right? It's got a very similar quality. Now you might be wondering, oh Ben, could you take this kick drum and layer this one into it? You certainly could, sir. You certainly could. You could certainly take this kick drum. I'm not going to do this technique today. But you just fucking straight out the gate. You could go, I'm going to take the low end and just keep the punch of this one. Got to calibrate. Right, this is without designing the kick at all. This is without changing the. There's all kinds of design tools in here, by the way. This is just literally me not touching anything as well, which is pretty impressive. It's a little out of key. I think it needs to be a little higher. Yeah, I'll say it, then I'll do it again. You'll notice as I change ChatGPT, it allows producers to script kick pitches using the dedicated pitch envelope. Yeah, fine. That's how it works. It has a whole pitch envelope. Also, you can see me now, I'm playing around with the FTN, which is essentially just a pitch. If you listen as I move this dial, you can hear the phase happening. This is good ear training. Do this. You don't always try and get things right. Listen out for stuff. Listen to the phase. See how that tightens there? That goes really tight there. And then as I come back down, you'll hear it like go a bit like blah, 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 blah. See that? It's less defined. Sweet spot? Could be a sweet spot, couldn't it? So honestly, just in context, I just wonder how that sounds. You can turn this one up a little bit more now because it's got no low end in it, so that obviously a lot of the volume in the kick drum is in the low end. Because we've just EQ'd a lot of that out, it means that the top end might seem too quiet. Do you see what I'm saying? So we could afford a little bit of volume boost if we wanted to. They're not quite in phase. The reason I know that is because you can hear the sub sort of disappears in the kick design one. But this can be a really good technique where you've got like a sampled kick from somewhere, and do you know what the irony is? The reason I wasn't going to do this today, I'll just say it, is because I like the low end. Give me my pencil tool. Let me be give me my pencil tool. I want to be a teacher. Let me be a teacher. Not let me be a teacher. Let me be a teacher. Give me my pencil tool. Oh. Fine, fuck it, I'll just do it like this. Obviously the pencil tool app has crashed once again every live stream. The one thing I really like about this kick drum is the low end. This sampled kit, the kit we want to change. One of the bits I do actually like about it is it's not right for the song, but I do like its thuddy low end, and that's the thing we've been trying to fix, isn't it? So the top end is actually not that nice. It does have a bit of, like, I like the tone, I suppose, actually. You know, it's not horrible. This need to be, I'll tell you what, let's do the techniques we've been using. We'll use the ever amazing Never Works tuner. G sharp at the moment. Old one, what was the old one? Remind me, guys. Oh, very close. Good ear, Benji. Very, very close. I reckon it can be smidged around a little bit, though, on this one. Oh, on this one. Was I on the right kick drum then? G sharp. There's too many kicks now. Old. Yeah, so that's what, when I said that felt like it went in phase, I was like, that's maybe the sweet spot. It is actually in key. Which is good to know for me. It's almost like I'm not just making it up. I feel like it can move a little bit though. Like I feel like that sub disappears a bit, and it is interesting how, like, because this tuner's not very accurate, so it's not even changed, and I've moved it quite a lot, and it even sounds completely different, and the tuner's not changed. So you know what I mean. That's a nice tone there as well. What's that like in the mix? That gets a very similar result. This kick does need to be louder. I do need to rebalance this mix. Should we just redline it for the moment? Yeah, it doesn't really matter too much. The phase is still not quite right. And to be fair, I haven't done anything with the kick design yet. I am going to move on, just do a kick from scratch now. But it's to do with the shape of this kick drum, which is what we're going to move on to in the envelope and in the pitch. The shape of this kick is not working with the shape of this one, and the key a little bit is slightly misphasing. And you can actually really hear that when you compare it to a kick that doesn't have any phase issues. I'll be real, I think I'm just going to stick with this kick. It sounds great. And then this one, listen to the shape. Maybe we EQ more of the low end out. Yeah, this was phasing against it, wasn't it? Right here, where I was boosting was causing a problem. Oh, that's a competitor. Just making that change there. That is a competitor, sir. Don't hate either of them. Oh, now we've got to pick between two good things. I quite like this new one we've just done. It's got like a nice... Tell you what we need to do is add speakers for this. We need to do add speakers. After this live stream, and I've had a bit of an ear break, I'll come back to this, and I'll maybe, if you guys all know me, go to my Instagram. I'll do maybe tomorrow morning, I'll do a story on what yeah, we'll have an ear break. I'll do it in tomorrow morning on my stories. That's what we'll do. We'll do like a follow-up of the live stream on my stories tomorrow on Instagram. That'd be a cool thing to do. Because I think I just need to make one more kick that's not mixed together. So let's put those two together. We'll group those so we know, we can remember. Hello? Old, but new. Yeah. And then... So I just randomly make an audio channel. I think Ableton slugged out for a second into something weird. We can get rid of you now. You're the drum code thing. Drum code? Drum clone. That's another drum clone. That's there. And then we've got the sampled one. So we've got sampled one, and now we want one more. So we want a MIDI channel. And I'm going to show you how to design a kick from scratch using Metrum. Go, brain, go. Go, brain, go. And then it's going to just be called Metrum, so we know what it is. Right, I'm going to start. I honestly find that there's loads of different ones you can pick. You can go through. There's there's loads of. I might not have the presets installed at the moment. I had to reinstall everything a few months back, and some jankiness went on with everything. It's really frustrating. there are you just go and install them. There's loads of presets. I don't really like presets for kicks and stuff. What's the fucking difference? I suppose you can finesse them. It's like I was going to say it's no different than having a sample pack, but at least I suppose you could pick something that you like a sample pack, but then you could go in and tweak it exactly. So I suppose it is different. I don't know. The reason I would have a plugin like this is so I can do it bespokely from scratch, right? It's just me. That's how I would use it. So I'm not that fussed about the presets. We're going to copy this MIDI down to here again. See what we'll do, just mute the vocal so we can hear what the fuck we're doing. Because it is very... We've all heard that vocal enough today, right? Right, so if we solo this a second, I can walk you through, just in 5 minutes, how Metrum works. On the main envelope, you can turn the envelopes off and on up here. And you can change... this first one... let me reopen it. Let me just reopen it a second, just to make sure. That didn't sound the same as what I was expecting it to sound like, so I just want to make sure. Yeah, I don't know what happened then. It changed the kick that it was on, but wouldn't let me go back to the kick that's meant to start on. That is something I find with Metrum. I don't know if that's a bug. I don't know if it's user error. I'm actually not entirely sure what goes on with that, but I find sometimes I just need to fucking close it, like delete it and start again. Yeah, anyway, that was one of those. So, whatever. The main envelope, you can turn the envelopes off and on up here. So you can make them shorter. Basically ADSR, right? Yeah. There's an amp envelope, so you can kind of like do that separate. I don't tend to use it. Pitch envelope. Mod. Why is the pitch envelope not on? Aha. It was clicked on this one. Why? That's why it was so confusing to me. So the main envelope was working because the main envelope acts on all 3 parameters, okay? And if you go to here, you have the amp envelope. Excuse me, that was really jarring. So weird that it did that, even though I reopened it, it was on there. It was weird. Anyway. So you can control that byte. All kinds of mad stuff, right? And if you do get a bit creative and you do get a bit lost, you can just reset to where it started off, which is great, which is really handy with this, because you do tend to try and be clever and do stuff and then it ends up being worse. Punchbox I haven't. There's loads of it. I should have mentioned there's loads of good ones of these nowadays. A Kick 2 is another one that people really enjoy. I just like this one so much I've just never really ended up changing, to be honest. It's one of those. So you can, you know, in amongst everything that would be wrong, right, there's the opportunity to find the exact, all that feels just right in my record within that sonic space. You can then add layers, which I don't tend to use all that much. But you can, you know, it is quite... So you can add, there's tons of layers. You can have 3 layers. There's like Foley sounds. There's, unfortunately, I don't have the presets for some reason, but there's, it normally opens it up, yes, because I've not got this, I don't know what's happened there. It's when it's installed, it's not got the file path linked to the right place. But you can like select all the different layers. There's like organic ones. There's like drum machine ones. There's like Foley sounds. There's all kinds of manner of different transient based things that you can add to your kick drum to sort of give it a bit of tone and stuff. It's really good. Like, it's really fun. You can sort of sit for hours playing around. But for now, anyway, I just want to focus on this kick. And let's put this in context and sort of work with this a little bit. Ever so slightly out of phase, but I think this is that same thing I was on about earlier, where I think it's out of phase with the D sharp, but in phase with the G. Again, if you're joining the live stream a little late, my bass line goes D sharp, then up to G, right? That, you know, you can feel the tail of the kick drum. It feels like it's in key with the bass line. It just it all sort of glues together. It doesn't feel wobbly. And down here it feels a bit. Let's just have a look. What key is this? Again, using the most precise tool. So I'm just being lazy and not using, what's it called? Brain. Activate brain. I was indeed correct. Just so inaccurate. So from here, now if we sort of say, I like these shorthand controls as well, so you can get super geeky. Sorry, let me move this out of the way of my face a little bit. There we go, so we can see everything. You can get really in there, but you've also got these little, like, just the quick hand, tend to work really well. And you see how the pinch is changing. Remember how I said about there's 3 areas of a kick drum? The sort of start transient, the punch, the body in the middle, and the tail at the end. These kind of tend to work around those particular parameters, and you can then use your envelope amp to sort of, like, you've got your tail and body and stuff as well. If you wanted it really transient, really French house disco. I'm just going to bring the body down and bring the tail up a little bit. I like this for calibrating as well, just on the amp envelope, just rolling away those transients at the start so you can kind of, like, get it without. Very hard to hear those in headphones, I'll be honest. I'm going to turn it down so I can hear clearly. One thing I will say is I don't like the drives. I don't think they sound very good. I do like it gives you a visual representation of what the drive's doing, and that's cool. That's a very good, very clean, albeit. You might want something a little more. Oh, awesome. Welcome. Notifications from YouTube for my live stream. Now that we're cooking. Now we're let him cook. Yeah, I need to calibrate. I need to kind of go back and compare. We've got our 3 different ones now, so we're going to go. Oh, but no. Was that playing at the same time? Have I just been fucking crazy? Was that playing at the same time? Surely not. Surely not. Also, I just need to say this. If you are new to the stream, we are redlining these channels. I know I'm gonna fix it after stream. I just don't want to bore everyone with me balancing the kick drums and the whole record, just to get a bit more headroom out of it at this late stage. Just so you know, yeah. Yeah, it was layered on top of that kick. I hadn't realised. Apologies, that's embarrassing. Let's do it properly. More of that snapback. To be fair, it sounded like quite a good layer, didn't it? You can actually come in and control that bite at the start that you can see me playing around with. You can actually chill that out a little bit here. This is changing the pitch. So because the pitch isn't as extreme from very high to very low, it's less like knocky. If you want the, and not the food, if you want the kick to have more like bite, like that really kind of like electronic and synthetic sort of sound that you'll hear in a lot of like modern tech house actually, you go more steep. If you want less of it and it to be more rounded, Hear that? Go right up into this sort of space that you would hear in like melodic house, like big room melodic house stuff. Just a simple change like this can change the genre of music you're thinking of. Oh, now we're in psytrance territory, right? You want it more rounded? A little bit of that tone. That is back up on my headphones now. Okay, that sounds quite good. I mean, again, normally we'd be working in context to listening to the record while you're doing it, yeah, but it's much clearer whilst teaching and educating and just chatting with friends on a live stream like this about music production, just to have things soloed now and again so we can all hear what the fuck we're doing. Still too much punch, man. It needs less punch and more body, right? That's nice. A bit too long now, maybe in the tail, yeah? Using the same techniques as earlier as I was doing on Simpler, going too short so I can calibrate and bring it across. So the most boring out of the three we've made so far, for sure. We can definitely jazz this up though. This has got no layers to it. It's just very simple. There's no plugins on this yet. And those of you that are joining this stream late, we're 2 hours in so far. We've made 2 kick drums so far from scratch, doing a couple of layering kind of jobs, sampling job from one of my own, from my own record algorithm. And then now designing one from complete scratch here. We're at the early stages. What I'm trying to do right now is just create a bit of a shape. Let's see if we can get anything out of using the actual layers within here. If not, I wonder about going and finding a kick drum itself and taking the low end out of it, bringing that in, finding the right kick. You know, like you can actually drag samples into here as well, but for some reason I prefer doing it outside of the box. Maybe it's because when I'm not using this plugin, that's how I would do it. So I kind of treat this plugin as the low end layer and then outside of this plugin as the top end layer. But just to explain, you could just, I know someone's going to say in the comments otherwise, you could just do it all inside of here. It just depends on how you like to work, isn't it? A lot of time with music. Let's try a few of these out. That actually helps quite a lot straight like that, doesn't it? And what if I'm going to duplicate this, which was the send and return layer for kick sampled, wasn't it? And then this can be, we'll just leave that as that so we know which one's which. So you're going to be just to give it that same kind of love. I just want to check because I'm massively redlining everything at this point now because we've kept going up. I've got a limiter on my master as well for those of you that are new here. Thank you, dude. Thank you. I appreciate the kind words. I've got a limiter on my master just for the stream, just to keep, but there's no gain reduction. So it's not doing anything. It's just balancing. It's just helping balance for the stream. Okay. Just so you can see that there. You're like, oh, well, you've got like a limiter on your master. That's all it's for. Okay. Not bad, considering I'm doing very light work. I'm not doing anything that clever right now, am I? And it's not bad. Let's try out a few different sounds here. Well, like that's got a disco-y feel to it. That just needs a bit of work, doesn't it? Maybe take the transient of it away so it's not interrupting the clean transient sort of from the first layer. It's got a cymbal in it, hasn't it? It's got like a ride. Yeah. Okay. This is where you get into the phase where it's like a grown man flicking through sounds, isn't it? I don't hate that. What about a third layer? What are these different? Oh, these are like longer, yeah. I haven't used this in ages, but in this kind of way. Yes, we want to get a bit of length in that top end. Okay. Sound design wise, not hating it. And also lots of room, lots of room for maneuvering. We can make it longer, shorter, deeper, higher, boxier. We can do all that inside of Metrum itself. Let's add a couple of plugins to make this a fair fight, right? We'll go with an EQ first, just in case we need to tame anything. I'll tell you what, we'll leave. It's fine, it doesn't matter where that goes. Let's try a little bit of Radiator. I was tempted to use the same plugins, use the same tape and stuff, which I kind of want to do because it sounded really good earlier. Let's have a little Fatso. I've actually got a real analog Fatso here, which I do use on Kick sometimes. But I'll give that a little go so you guys can see, just to show you guys some different stuff, to be honest. Yeah, do you know what I mean? Sometimes when I'm actually making music, I'll just use the exact same plugins on everything. If it sounds good, fuck it. But just give you guys a little bit different content, something to learn, something to look at. Tell you what, I will do this one in context. I think the same trick as earlier. I think the lows are actually in a good volume sort of space there. Very similar curve to earlier. Radiator. Careful because it's redlining straight away. Go clean. I like the sound of Radiator, just a little tiny touch of it. Oh God, be so careful. I'm going to use the actual treble to try and get a little bit more air into the kick. It sounds a little kind of like sterile, doesn't it? Watching my meters. Too much still? I don't want to lose that warm low end. You miss that. It doesn't translate in the mix, does it? That low end was lost by Radiator. I quite often put Radiator on kicks and turn it off because of that. I do. Excuse me. The clipping on Radiator is amazing. Like the perceived loudness I'm getting from that is pretty fucking cool. And then maybe a little bit of compression. Is this the right compression for a kick drum? It can. People definitely 100% use it. how would I want to use it for this kick drum? I don't think I would want to use this compressor for this kick drum, if I'm honest. Like I said, I've got a harder one here. I quite like it for certain things. There's some tricks that I've used it for recently to do with making AI stuff, like AI vocals, for instance, on client stuff, and some of the stuff on before. I've stopped using AI completely at the moment, but we'll talk about that. I'm going to do a whole live stream on that soon. Thank you for the sub. I'm going to do a whole live stream around that very soon. But I came up with a bunch of tricks using analog stuff to make the AI horribleness sound less horrible. But you know, that's a different. Again, like someone said in the chat, don't bring AI up. It'll be a 5-hour long stream. So I just want to get a little bit of gain reduction here. I'm going to go. This is different than the one I've got. My one's the new version. This is the old version, isn't it? They changed the compressor settings on. There's 2 different versions of this bit of hardware, and they changed what the compression settings are set to. So really interesting. I don't know if you've ever seen this bad boy before. It's a very classic Fatso. It's a really, really, really classic compressor. It's a tape emulator whilst also being a compressor. It's an interesting little weird thing. Some people hate it. Some people love it. What a time to be alive, mate. What a time to be alive. Oh, no way. Yeah, Silver Red. Oh, mate, that's a fucking... You're pulling out a classic, Claire. You're pulling out an absolute classic. That's before I was on Toolroom. That's like 12 years old. Simmer Red. I used to put stuff out with those guys. I wonder if are they still around, Simmer? I feel like I should know that. I haven't really seen it. It's not a label I've noticed as of late. I used to love the stuff that they put out. It's run by... can't remember their names now. God, that's embarrassing on a live stream. Well done, Ben. Anyway, move on. Move on quick. Nothing to see here. So you don't get as much control over as you would want typically, which is kind of part of the charm of the plug-in, the device. So here's your gain reduction. So now I need to turn the output up, right? The aptly named tranny for transistor is it's the transistor format of, in the analog one, they introduce the gain stage into a transistor that creates distortion that is either really fucking great or really shit. Even on this hardware one I've got, man, it sometimes flattens things too much. Can I switch cameras and show you? I've even gone as far as getting this thing here that plugs into the back. It's just here. I don't want to move the camera. I'll end up knocking it over or something. But this plugs into the Fatso that's just here at the top of the chain. And that allows you to control the input stage of the compressor, because it's very hard on the analog one to actually get what you want out of it because of the way it's sort of the way it was made. But on the plug-in version, it's a bit more simple. But sometimes the transistor gets hit too hard before you even get any real compression settings out of it. So yeah, it's one of those. Some people love it, some people hate it. I used to play the Grin Knights. Oh, dude, no way. You know James well then? He's killing it now, isn't he? Just released his album, self-released. Fucking love the music he's been doing. I love James. He's like a super talented, very ambitious dude. He's such a lovely dude. I'm not even going to pretend I can hear any difference, all right? I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to be that guy. I can't hear any fucking difference. I don't like it. It was flattening it a little bit, if anything. Okay, go away. Trash 2 I like, but we've already got Radiator, so we don't want to get too silly. Although we could maybe use Saturn 2. I just feel like it still feels a little flat in the mix. In fact, before I turn that on, let's calibrate back to our other kicks. Oops, sorry, excuse me, what we need. Oh, my brain is too much stuff. You guys, let's collapse you so I don't keep looking at you. Go away. I'm sorry, I've got 2 of them playing at the same time again. This is, gosh, confusing even for me, and I've got it's my own project. after a bit of an ear break, I think our kick sampled is better than the mixed one we did. Now I'm hearing. I thought there was a competition there. There needs to be some more mixing done to them. Obviously, they're redlining. We know. But just sonically and sort of stylistically, I feel like this one's feeling a little bit better to me now than this one. And then our new one. We're splitting hairs, but I do like it. I like our new one. It's considering we're doing this completely from scratch without any like samples or anything doing the heavy lifting for us, which is typically what can happen when you layer stuff. This is sounding pretty good. It's missing. I like there's a boxiness in this one. It's not as boxy as the original old one, but it has a little bit of tonality to it that I think kind of feels a bit disco-y, where I feel maybe the one we're working on at the moment maybe feels a little too like synthetic, if you get me. I don't know, man. I'm overcomplicating things. I think that sounds pretty good. But I would like to... Let's get a little bit more punch on it. It's really annoying. I've got a plugin I would normally use for this. I haven't installed it since my computer went blah, like a few months ago now, I'll be honest. It wasn't even like it was yesterday. It was ages ago. There's a plugin I love for making kicks punch. Would you like... Let me know in the chat, guys. Would you like to see it? This will be the final sort of thing that we'll do now. Would you like to see how to compress a kick drum like this with stock plugins, or with some cool plugin? Would you rather see like a third party, what does Ben use, or would you rather see how I would do it with stock? I'll get a good result out of either, by the way. You don't have to have third party plugins. What would you guys rather see? Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think that middle one's the winner. This new one we're making on Metrum is not bad though. I think the ones we made from scratch both beat the old sampled one I had in here. No, don't worry about it, mate. That's what chat's for. Nah, dude, you're all right. That's what chat's for. I quite like it. I like sort of... I want to do more lives where it is actually just a bit more of a Q&A and a chat and stuff. It's good fun. Third party. Should we see if we can... I'll tell you what, I'll try and do both. Okay, let's do both. We're in for the... I said 3 hours at the start, didn't I? I think we've been on so long that the light at the... When did the light at the back turn off? It's run out of battery. We've eclipsed the battery life and the lights that are on the back of the wall. I wonder when that happened. Did anyone notice? That's like completely fucked up all the lighting on my cameras. Metrum. Okay, let's use stock first. I'm just going to use the generic like compressor. I like this compressor. I think it models the API 2500. I think that's what they've done to my ear. I think this compressor is mimicking, not exactly, not 1-1, but it sort of has a similar vibe to, if I got it in my little list here, yeah, the API 2500. It's got a similar modern edgy bite to it. Yeah, I just find there's a similarity in comparison. I don't know if anyone else has ever found that before. Let me know in the comments below. Is that a thing? Have other people said that before? It's something I've always thought. I mention it on lessons and stuff because I know the G-Bus is obviously mimicking the G-Bus compressor, the glue compressor, which is an SSL compressor. So I'd imagine that this compressor is probably meant to be modeled on something as well, although I felt like maybe they would have called it something that was a nod towards. They would have called it like the AP compressor or something like that. Don't know. But yeah, anyway, that's my thoughts. I think it sounds a bit like the API 2500. Attack. So the confusing thing with this compressor is the numbers. There are too many numbers. I've got posh, expensive compressors here. I've got a Manny Labs very move. My brain actually completely switched off for a second and I think I nearly had a stroke. There's a Manny Labs very Mu compressor here that I use on my mix bus. I've got a Neve master bus processor here, which I don't like the compressor on it at all. I've got a SOC 20 here, a Cream here, and a 1176 clone down over there as well on hardware compressors, and none of them, and I've owned other compressors as well, none of them have these kind of numbers on them. So these are all quite iconic compressors. None of them have anywhere near this amount of numbering on them. Like you can't fucking have below 1. Like none of them go below 1, for instance. I don't think anyone go below 1, do they? What? So this, which almost looks halfway. So when you sort of like think, when you like talk about compression settings, you say fast. This is almost halfway round. That doesn't sound like fast, does it? You don't think, but it is. 1 on any of these compressors would be way too fast for a kick drum. Way too fast for a kick drum. So this, it typically like 10 here is still way too fast. Way too fast. And that's all the way over here. Okay. So what I like on a kick drum is about 50. There's loads of numbers. Every kick drum's slightly different. The thing is you have to know about compression is every single sound is slightly different so that nothing should be exact. But I like quite a slow attack. Like I will go right up to like 50 and above. I would say anywhere from about 30 upwards is typically where I end up sort of landing, all right? Release, I typically go for about 100. Again, like every sound is slightly different. 4 to 1's fine. I like to go in like really hard so I can hear what the fuck's going on. Yeah, I've got other views and stuff. I'm not going to sit here and do a fucking tutorial on the basic boring stock plugins, but I just use it like this. We need to, I have makeup gain turned off, you notice. I like doing it myself. It's just one of those things. Slightly faster release. 4 dB gain reduction. Interestingly, compressors, I don't know if you guys have found this, they translate better in the whole mix. You know, we've been soloing things whilst EQing because it's a bit clearer so you guys can actually hear what I'm doing. Compression's weird. It's like really hard to hear when it's solo, but in the mix, it kind of like you go, oh, yeah, I can hear that like poking out a little bit more now. I mean, that's what it's for. I mean, it makes sense. It makes complete sense why that is. But anyway, let's go off and on. See, now I can hear it's too much. There's too much bite coming through now, so I'm going to ease off the threshold. I sort of prefer it without. I find that with this compressor, it's a bit hard. I like that. That's good. Stop plug-in. That adds just a little bit of density to the that, you know, we were talking about the kick drum having 3 sections. It adds a bit of density to that first part, which just makes it translate in the mix that little tiny bit better. It is a touch 0.3 dB louder, but it allows it. It just pokes out the mix a little. It's what compressors are for, right? I very rarely use compressors anymore. I have one on my mix bus, as I said, and I've got a few that are more for like recording in, like if I'm recording synths, and I quite like sending like my drums out through guitar pedals and shit like that. So like I quite like just sort of, you know, controlling things a little bit with a nice little analogy compressor here and there, right? Posh stuff. But like in the box, especially if I'm using samples, because samples are all like over processed anyway, I really don't like compression on almost anything anymore. Obviously there's arguments to be made about that, but just as like a blunt statement, it sort of starts the conversation off in an interesting place, is I don't really use compressors much anymore on anything. On bass lines is the one that stand out, and vocals as well. But yeah, unless like I'm really trying to like make a sound like, because I kind of feel like, right, when a lot of these compressors came out and when they were, all these sort of settings of like punchy and control and stuff were invented, it was back in the day when it was all about recordings, like recording bands. Nowadays we're using samples, so like the content and the dynamic problems we face nowadays are very fucking different to what they were facing when they invented these things. So I don't think that they actually have that much of a place. Oh, this is going to anger someone in the comments, that. I don't think they have that much of a place nowadays as much as they did, because the dynamics of a lot of sounds that we use, look, if you're out there recording your own stuff, fucking ignore me. I'm talking about those of us that just make tech house using splice and samples and shit like that, right? Because that's how a lot of musicians are making music now. I know, shots fired. Just sound off in the comments if it annoys you, whatever. But that's how a lot of human beings are making music now. And you have to realize that a lot of I used to be a sample content creator. I used to do a lot of stuff for Wave Alchemy. I've done stuff for Sample Magic, Wave Alchemy, Loop Masters, handful of them. That's what I did before I was Ben Remember. I used to be a different artist name, then I dropped off, then came back through making samples, and then became Ben Remember. And yeah, like a lot of samples are really processed. Like there's certain companies, they're over processed, if you ask me. Like they're too pushed, and it helps sell the sample because it sounds impressive, but it's overcooked already. You can't touch it. If you put a compressor on that as well, because you've seen a compressor chain on YouTube, so you're going to put a compressor on a fucking sample that's cooked to death already. You're not understanding the reasoning behind using compression. So I find a lot of time now I'm not using compression as much, and I'm definitely not the first person I've seen say that on YouTube in the last year. I have a compressor on my mix bus and some compressors for when I am recording stuff in synths and you know some other creative stuff I might do. But in the box, not so much, not as much. Although, does that compressor improve that kick drum? I think it kind of does. Good question. Why compressor and not transient shaper? I see reactor earlier in the chain, which I assume is for girth. Yeah, radiator. Yeah. You're right. Radiator is always for girth. That's what she said. Usually only use bus compressors for glue. Yeah. I think you'll find a lot of people are saying that at the moment, mate. Honestly, like I've come across it naturally, and I just now, because I started saying it, and I was a bit like, oh, I was saying it in lessons and stuff that's not live, so it's not quite scary because you haven't got thousands of people that call you out on it. But I've been saying it for a little while, and since then I've just noticed, like on YouTube and stuff, I've seen loads more people sort of saying it, especially like Iconic. I won't name names in case I get it wrong, but I've some really famous, you can probably guess. Like if you think about the top 5 really famous music producers, like engineers that are on YouTube, I've heard most of them say it now, like that they're, you know, it's just, I think that's kind of the way it's gone. But I do think that does help that kick drum. I think it does add a little density to the kick drum with that said, you know, just for the stock plugin. Transient designers I don't use as much because I prefer to do that at source. So for instance, what a transient designer will do, if you think about transient designer, its most blunt format, it's going to turn up the transient to make the transient sound louder. That changes your headroom, and actually, you know, obviously if you get it right, it sounds good. But I prefer not to do it because I feel like, say for instance, if I'm in here, I go into here, I can actually just do that there. So what I've done there is rather than turn up the transient, I've turned down the body and then I turn up the sample, which is the same difference. It's exactly the same difference, but I've done it by controlling the ADSR earlier on. That's and obviously if you've got a loop, then we're talking a different story, and transient designers are typically, that's why they were invented really. So you can put it on a loop and get a little bit of bite out of it. My favorite transient designer is Spiff. Spiff is my favorite transient designer. In fact, whilst we're talking about it, sorry, I know I'm fucking dragging this live stream on. Hope everyone is not getting bored and is still with me. My favorite transient designer is Spiff because it's fucking great on a drum bus. So it's a transient designer, but you can use it like an EQ. So you can tell it to transient design more wherever you want or less wherever you don't want, which is, in my opinion, why did it take so long for someone to invent that? It's brilliant. I like to go in hard. And then I dial the mix in. Hard because there's a lot of spacey, reverby stuff in there. So you can turn the decay down. But look at the headroom. Yeah, so you do have to be, I mean, I'm being a bit fucking loosey-goosey with this, aren't I? Let's put that in context and try and dial it in, see if it's any good. I like it on that clap. I like it on that clap, sir. Off and on. I do like it on that clap, sir. That's because my open hi-hat isn't in that group. I'm going to add it to that open hi-hat. Sorry, I'm getting off piste. sorry. We're nearly 3 hours into a live stream and I'm just wandering off doing different stuff. So you can hear what I'm doing. I like just to go in on it and then just dial the mix in. And sometimes you'll see me doing like 3%. For the sake of headroom, but hey, thank God someone said transient designer. I think that does actually help those drums pop a little bit more, actually. Right, and so, but with a kick drum, if you start trying to jack up the snap, and I don't know if you joined, I think you joined afterwards, mate. We designed this kick drum from scratch, so we could actually, if we wanted more bite, I actually rolled off a lot of the bite. So in this particular, yeah, the Alicia one is good as well. I used to have that hardware. I owned that for a little bit and gave it back. The Neutron I haven't tried. I've heard it's very good. Yeah, in the comments, those of you that are watching it, if you ever see me doing stuff like I'm making kick drums, I'm using this kind of thing, I'm using saturation, I'm doing this kind of stuff, let me know if there's a plugin that I'm missing, I should know about. Maybe we could I think it'd be quite fun to get into a place where like on the live streams, I start looking at new plugins I've never used before and like use them for the first time ever on a song and stuff and just do a live stream around it. I think that'd be quite fun. Yeah, you can, I'll send you some royalties, mate. A pack of cookies. Which, to be fair, is 50% of the royalties. Yeah, Transient Master I've heard is very good as well. Yeah, yeah, but we could we could actually design that earlier on if we wanted a bit more punch. And to be fair, you could arguably say that about me fucking using a compressor as well. To be honest. So let's do one more. We'll use a third party. What would I use? Probably the API, to be honest. My favorite one I've not got installed, which is actually kind of annoying, but we'll use the API, which weirdly is, ironically, I didn't even do that on purpose, a very similar one to this. It looks more complicated, but it's not. We want a release of like 2, ratio will start at 4, attack of 30, threshold to taste. Tone, obviously, hard and loud, right? Who the fuck isn't picking hard and loud? Makeup gain, I'll do that myself, or I'll let you do it. I do find with a lot of these things, once you shape a kick drum nicely, compressors just kind of flatten them off a little bit. Yes, I know, I'm over compressing it. I'm actually going to compress it even more and use the dry and wet to kind of parallel compress it. Yeah, right, which has ruined it, obviously. And then we're going to dial a bit of that in, a little bit like what we were doing over here earlier. That's a little something something. Yeah, adds a little something something there. You know, it's not nothing. Is it game changing? Is it the reason this record would get signed? Nah. Yes, I mean, I really want to buy a real one, but I can't afford it. It's kind of one of the final ones on my hit list of things I just want to own, just for the sake of being a collector. The Black Box is one of them. 2500 is another one. What else is there out there I haven't ever owned? I just want it sat in my rack. Do you know what I mean? I'll never turn it on. Yeah, wicked. That's really interesting. Gold Clip. I've heard that's really good. Yeah, do you know what? I haven't used a clipper in a little while. I used to use the T-Rex clipper on everything. I need to go get that again. Again, that was another casualty of my computer breaking down on me a few months back. And I just haven't gone and installed it. You know, sometimes if you like, it's weird with music production, and we can get into this now. We'll kind of end the stream at this phase. I'll tell you what, before I start fucking chatting and going off on a random tangent, let's do all 3 kick drums stacked against each other. It's not quite a fair fight on volume, but I think we've got to that point now. Let's do all 3, and we'll listen to a little bit more of the record. All right, we'll just let this play through like that. And let's have a listen to all 3 and see what we kind of prefer, although we have all been sat here for 3 hours listening to me chat and do this, and these headphones are actually hurting my ears right now. I'll say that. Like, whether or not we're being the most objective about what we've got here right now, I would argue we're probably not. Like I always say, you trade objectivity for creativity. You get creativity, you get to have fun, but you lose the objectivity of right and wrong, especially after 3 hours on a live stream, okay? So let's listen to all 3 and just see. You guys let me know on chat and let me know in the comments, what do you think? Number 1, 2, or 3? Old But New is number 1. Kick Sample is number 2. And the VPS Made from Scratch is number 3. What kick do we prefer? The fuck? Something's gone wrong there. Oh. Unfair, biased, unfair. You can actually hear now there's a slight phasing in the way these two interact with each other, like in the timing. One, they need to be moved slightly left and right. There's a slight, which is fucking them up a little bit. We're even have the vocals back on. Let's go all in. That's better. The third one I do really like, which is great because that's one we made from scratch. I do feel it's lacking a little bit of that magic in the body. There's something in like that body that is kind of missing, but I think if we sat here for another 3 hours, we could probably get that in there. I want to try one little trick here with Saturn 2 because I did say it and then I didn't do it. I just realised. It's the same trick you saw me do earlier. Turn the drive down to 0, find 2 bands to start with. Then you're looking for the tone of the kick. Get a little bit more of that kind of almost boxy kind of vibe, right? Too much now, right? Too much. Good for pulling out that air in the top if you need it. I can't hear right from wrong at the moment, I'll be honest. Round that back off a little bit. So here's my analysis. Radiator, I'm pulling the radiator back a little bit, pulling the radiator down a little tiny touch. The reason for it is, and this is my calibration, is the new one is the most sonically defined, which makes a lot of sense because we've just sonically designed it in a synth. Yeah, so Radiator is, I would argue, has become my favorite plugin. It's a very simple plugin, but it has a very analog tone to it, and it has a bit of an analog snob. Not completely, but a little bit of an analog snob. Thanks for the sub. I can hear these things, and I find that Radiator, I keep adding it to kicks and then taking it off because it's a little too much. I use it on fucking everything. But I always like to try it out, and I think it's working very well on this kick, although I think it is one of the reasons it's sounding a bit too tough. The way Radiator sounds and kind of clips is very pleasing for my ear. The perceived loudness it gives me and the kind of weight that it seems to bring through, I don't feel like I feel that from any other distortion plugin there is. Please let me know if there's any I should be looking at. I do have another one which I really do rate, but I haven't used it much recently, Alkyne. I need to get back into that plugin. I find that it's more, anything that's like got more bells and whistles on it is fucking cool. But like Radiator just feels like it's like getting a plug and plugging it into a bit of hardware, and it just comes out without having the faff of hardware. That's what I feel like about Radiator. It adds something that I can't get from anything else. And I've been, you know, for however many years now, a massive fan of Trash 2. If you could put the argument about like what's the best saturation, I've used Trash 2 for a long time. It's amazing. Again, more complicated, more sort of things it can do. Yes, all good, Gary, man. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it, dude. I mean, we're at 2 o'clock now. I should probably go too. We're going to wrap up now anyway, mate. But thank you for being here. I appreciate it, mate. I really massively appreciate you being here all the time. It's wicked. Yeah, that's why Radiator is there. It adds a sense of weight to things. Now, my tired headphone on for 3 hours ears, this is my take. I might change my mind. I'll listen to it tomorrow morning out the speakers and stuff. And like I said earlier in the stream, what I'll do, if you don't follow me on Instagram, come find me on Instagram. It's under the same name. Just look up Ben Remember. You'll find me straight away. There's 2 accounts, annoyingly, though. You'll see the one that's worth looking at because it's got more followers and stuff going on constantly on it. Ben Remember Music, same as this YouTube account. Tomorrow morning, what I'll do is I'll come in and I'll listen to all 3 of these again. I think we can, well, we know that the old one was the one that we didn't want, but let's give it its fair shout. We'll check all 3 out of my speakers, out the small speakers, out the big PMC2s. Those of you that weren't here earlier, I've got a pair of PMC 82s that are my main referencing monitor, as well as little mix cubes. I'm wearing headphones for live streams because it makes life a lot easier on live. What we'll do, I'll tell you what, we can actually turn over to this camera now and sort of chat for a sec. What we'll do is I'll listen to them across all the different speakers and headphones and stuff, and I'll do a story on that on my Instagram tomorrow morning before I start other stuff, and we'll have a little chat and I'll see what I think, because maybe it's none of them. Maybe I'm like, that was really fun. I think I'm halfway figured out what I want, what I should use, but it's not 100% there. That could be the case, and I'll be honest with you, and this is a really important thing to always understand with music. It doesn't matter if you've got loads of experience or whatever it is. When you've been working with headphones on for 3 hours, you ain't got a fucking clue what right and wrong is anymore. You need a break. I need to go make a coffee. I need to go have some lunch. I haven't eaten. It's 2 o'clock. Do you know what I mean? It's like you have to recharge your brain a little bit to be able to make, because at the end of the day, the choice on what one works best is quite nuanced, isn't it? Like, especially between 2 and 3, I don't know if there's anything particularly wrong there in either of them. I think that it comes down to like style. And I think you need to get away from the record, listen to some other music, listen to some other records, and then you come back in and you then make an assessment based on how it comes across against other records, like referencing. Like we spent some time chatting about that at the beginning. That's what I need to do tomorrow to make an educated choice, like an actual sort of educated choice on what one is actually working the best, what one needs, they probably all need refining, but you probably need to pick one and then refine it. You know what I mean? We'll do that on my stories in the morning. So you guys, if you're interested in knowing what that is, check it out on my stories tomorrow. And I'll put it in the comments below as well. Once I know and once I've figured it out, I'll pin it in the comments for those of you that will miss it on my stories, because stories are only there for 24 hours and so on. I'll pin my kind of what I thought, what I came up with and everything. I'll pin it to the top of the comments for anyone who watches this in a couple of weeks' time or whenever, and you are interested in knowing. You'll know the answer there, okay? So, thank you so much for being here today. Just reading the comments as we go. Yeah, thank you so much for being here today. It was absolutely fucking wicked. Loads of you come on. It's great to see this live stream kind of growing. I'm doing these live streams at the most ridiculous time of like 11 o'clock in the morning on a Thursday morning. So those of you that are actually here live, thank you so much for being here and supporting me. It means the world to me. It's massive. It's wicked. This whole going onto YouTube is a brand new thing for me. I'm really enjoying it. I love doing these. Like that, I thought this was going to be an hour long today. It's not been 3 hours because it was difficult. It's been 3 hours because it's been fun. Do you know what I'm saying? So thank you so much for being here. And it means that, it encourages me to do more of these and feel like this is something I can get into and really kind of maybe focus my time into, like actually building a proper YouTube channel and doing these live streams every week. It makes it more realistic of a proposition for me. So that's amazing. So thank you so much for being here. Everyone who's watching it afterwards, also thank you so much as well. Please like and subscribe. If you enjoyed this in any kind of way, if you learned anything here at all, please sub. The last video had like 4,000 views and like 200 follows or subs. So a lot of people watching, not a lot of people subbing. I know that's how YouTube is. That's why every YouTuber is always going on about, please sub to my fucking channel. Because that's just how it works. Most people just sort of watch stuff and see 5 minutes and then move on. That's how it works. So if you did stay here, if you are watching this right now and you've been a part of this and you like this, please sub. It means the world to me. We're going to be doing more next week. Next week, we're going to be doing a full track deconstruction of my brand new single, Truth, which is out on Torium Tracks tomorrow. So go stream that, go buy it, go love it, enjoy it. Even if you just listen to it, I don't mind, it's all good. Do you know what I mean? No one's making money out of people buying records anymore anyway, but it does push me up the charts. It does make record labels take me more seriously. So any way you can support real human beings making real human being music nowadays, we massively appreciate it. Shots fired. You know what I'm saying? We all know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to bring it up. Right, I love you all. Thank you so much for being here. It's really, really good fun. I look forward to doing it again next week for you. Keep an eye on my socials. I might actually do an extra one on Sunday if I can make it work around my life. I might do an extra live stream this Sunday evening as a special one because of the release. I will let you know on my socials, all right? Awesome. Right, love you all.